test. There we go. I think we got it. Let's go ahead and start, y'all. We're still having some technical difficulties, which happens. Did y'all sleep good? I slept real good last night. Yeah. Still going? You know, I really felt bad when I got back last night. I go, you know, people can only absorb so much, but I want to share so much with y'all, and I just felt bad wearing yous out, but I apologize. But let's start with prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for your love and your care and your patience with us. This morning as we learn about hydrotherapy, give us wisdom, help us to know how to take care of ourselves, our families, but help us remember our goal is also to point the sin-sick soul to your Son. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So this morning is hydrotherapy. And who's ever done hydrotherapy?
A little bit.
Anybody ever taken a bath before? Anybody ever take a shower? A shower? I won't do what we did up in Minnesota a couple months ago. I wouldn't do it in Minnesota today. I talked to them the other day, and they said it was 35 below zero. It's up in Mill River, Minnesota. We went out and did hydrotherapy, and we went out and did the douche outside with the garden hose. It'd be kind of cold. Hydrotherapy has been around for a long time. Can you think of any Bible experience that used hydrotherapy? Naaman. Yeah. Who said Naaman? Yes, Naaman. Absolutely. Who else?
You know what I think? It's maybe mentioned in the book of Revelation.
Yes?
I would thou wert hot or cold.
Oh, there you go.
It's hot. It's the temperature is mentioned 7 times there in Laodicea. Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and lukewarm.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
It is very
God
interesting.
has given us hydrotherapy
Yeah.
in the last days for the last church. And you can't do hydrotherapy with lukewarm water.
No. Well,
Jesus says, I would thou wert hot or cold.
oh. So,
Well, the laver, when the priests had to wash, they had to wash themselves in the laver.
yes?
The healing of the eyes, the blindness.
Yes. So water's been used a long time. But in modern history, it was Germany that started doing the work around 1915, 1914, in that time frame. And if you really want to learn good hydrotherapy, the Germans have done a lot of research there. And then it came to America. Actually, Kellogg, that's who he studied. He studied the Germans because it was much superior than ours. And as I was sharing yesterday, there's by 1855, I want to say 1855, yeah, 1855, there was already over 75 locations in the United States that were hydrotherapy clinics, water clinics. When Elder White was sick, they didn't go to Battle Creek because Battle Creek wasn't mature enough yet in hydrotherapy. And so where did he go? He went to New York, and he went to Jackson's, Dr. Jackson's. And how long was he there? 3 months. And a lot of the folks who went to Battle Creek, they were there for 2-3 months. There's a lifestyle center in China. And if you go there, the least amount you're allowed to go is 2 months. They want you there for 3 months. Now, Kent, you'll find this very interesting. They have Christians and they have non-Christians. And I don't remember now the percentages, but I do remember the conversion rate. The conversion rate of Christians to Seventh-day Adventism is 80%. The conversion rate of whatever religion they are in China to Seventh-day Adventism is 50%. That's huge. You don't find that in evangelism, do you? No. I mean, that is conversion. What are Chinese? Are they What's their religion? What?
Hindu.
Hindu? I don't know what they are. Whatever they are, there's a conversion rate of whatever they worship to Seventh-day Adventism, 50%. There's a conversion rate of Christians to Seventh-day Adventism, 80%. What's the key? Health. They're there for 3 months. Relationships. And that night, they listen to this DVD of this little old guy, bald-headed guy, up there, and it's translated in Chinese. His name's Doug Batchelor. Every night, they have to watch Doug Batchelor videos. Why don't we do 3-month programs anymore? It's too expensive. Why don't we go and spend 3 months at a lifestyle center? We can't take off 3 months. Yes. Lifestyle centers used to be here in the United States, with Battle Creek, was 3 months, then 2 months, and then in modern day, in our time frame, in the last, say, 40 years, they used to go stay for a month, 28 days, then 21 days, 14 days, 10 days, 7 days, 3 days, weekend, you know. When I do the program in Africa, I do it for 2 weeks. I said I at least need them for 2 weeks. When we did the program in Virginia, I had a 10-day program and an 18-day program. And I can tell you my outcome indicators, both in labs and in how people felt and the reversal of their diseases. From a 10-day program versus an 18-day program, 18-day program was superior to the 10-day program. Superior. They had another 8 days of doing what we were doing. They were more prone for it to stick on the 18-day program than the 10-day program, because they felt so much better from 10 days to 18 days, 10 days to 18 days, that, yeah, I'm going to continue doing this. I really feel good. Versus, I mean, they did good at 10 days, but the 18 made a difference. Just think what the 20, going, a month or 2 months or 3 months. And that's why China is having such success, both in health issues, but also spiritual. Now, can anybody tell me why we do health?
Supposed to clear our minds so we can meet with Christ.
Okay, do what?
Supposed to clear our minds so we can communicate with Christ.
Okay, yes, that's one. Yes? Kent?
Well, she said one of them. And another thing is, it's a way to approach people with something even more important than their health. That's their eternal salvation. So if you help them with their health, then you build rapport with them and you have more access to them when it comes to eternal truth.
When you look at what is God's mission? To save humanity. That's God's mission, to save humanity right now. What is Christ's mission? Same, save humanity. What is our mission? To point them to Christ. We can't save the people, but we can point them to Christ, and then Christ can save them. That is our bottom line job as humans. Now, who's worked in corporate America? Y'all know what a mission statement is. I had name tags that I had on my employees wearing. When Joint Commission comes in, who's ever had Joint Commission come in? And Joint Commission will come in and say, okay, what is your mission statement? Well, sometimes mission statements are crazy long. And so here's what I taught my employees to do. Say, oh, I'd love to share that with you. Let me share it with you. Now the employee can read it, so they got it right. And they would read the mission statement to that Joint Commission person. Coca-Cola. One of my professors at UT, he worked for Coca-Cola in finance. Coca-Cola has a 25-year business plan. When the board of directors gets together every year, they look out 25 years. Where are we going to be in 25 years from now? Every year, 25 years from now. And so then from 25 years, we move it back and forth, and then they make their 5, 3, 2, 1 year plan based on that. And if someone says, oh, I got a great idea, Coca-Cola, let's do this. And they'll go, well, let's see, does it meet that? Nope, not this year. Now, if you can convince the board to change this in order to do that, when they meet next year, then we can do it, but not unless it's that. Do you see how the mission statement is? I mean, that's what drives corporate America if they do a good job. If it doesn't meet the mission statement, you don't do it. That's what drives us. What is our mission statement as humans? Point the sin-sick soul to Christ. And we're all sin-sick souls, yes? It's to point people to Christ. Now, yes, I have a job as taking care of myself. I have a job of taking care of my family and taking care of other people. But ultimately, my job is to point people to Christ. And number one is who? My family. Is that not correct? And number two is those around. Are we working? All right. Good job, guys. And so, why do we do hydrotherapy? To point people to Christ. Let me share a real quick story. Stories to me are like parables. They just make me understand. That's just how my brain works. So I figure everybody else is that way. But Christ did parables. So I'm sitting there one day helping this fella. He just moved from California and he has diabetes. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and he and his wife. And Mary Lou comes over and she says, "I need you to talk to this lady." And so I'm really intense. Okay. And so I get up and I go talk to the lady, and she's just squalling. Just a squalling. And y'all know what squalling is. Y'all know what squalling is? Crying. Crying. Okay. And so I said, "Can I help you?" She says, we just left the doctor, and the doctor said my husband's going to die. He's a 10 out of 10 in severity. You know what MRSA is? Well, this is vancomycin resistant. So vanc don't even work. He said there's nothing we can do, and what score he used to say 10 out of 10, I have no idea. So she went from there to the pharmacy, CVS, it's across the street. And she was begging them, "Please, give me some drug to help my husband." And they said, "There's nothing else we can do. Nothing else." Go across the street and talk to Walt. So CVS the pharmacist sent her across the street to come talk to me. So she's there. And I said, "Does your husband believe in God?" She goes, "Nope." I said, "Do you believe in God?" She goes, "No." And I said, "Well, the only healing's going to happen if God does a healing." And I said, "I have something that's very strong. I've used it for MRSA, and it works extremely good for MRSA. I've never used it for what your husband has. Are you willing to try it?" She goes, "I'll do anything. I want my husband to live." So I said, "Okay." So I went back and got it. And I said, "Do you mind if Mary Lou and I pray that God will bless this, that your husband will live? Because that's the only way it's going to work, is God blessing this, that he'll live. This ain't going to heal him. Only God will heal him." And she goes, "I told you. Anything to keep my husband alive." I said, "Okay." So we prayed. She's gone. She came back a week later and all happy. And she said, "My husband is now significantly better." It was like 4 out of 10 or something in severity. I mean, significantly better. She came back 2 weeks later. So a total of 3 weeks now. Comes back 2 weeks later and she goes, she's ecstatic. She says, "I just left. It's gone. Gone. There is no infection at all." And she said, I said, "That's great." And before I could even say anything, she says, "My husband now believes in God." Whoa! And poof, she's gone. Gone. And I didn't see her. 2 years ago this month. A year ago this month. I don't remember. 1 or 2 years ago this month. Mary Lou was gone, whatever it was. She was down in Alabama. She was gone last year, and she may have been gone. No, it was 2 years ago this month. It was in January. Because I had a grandson that was born. She was down in Alabama. I'm at the herb cabinet, and my herb cabinet's probably, some of y'all have seen it. It's about from here to the wall. And I'm there doing some things, and this lady comes up and she says, "My husband's trying to quit smoking. You got anything I can help him quit smoking with?" And I said, "Yeah, it's use Smoker's Blend," what I shared with you yesterday. 3/4 cup of lemon juice, 1/4 cup of honey, and 1/3 of a teaspoon of peppermint essential oil. Okay. As she's walking out the door. And I said, "Don't forget the most important part." And she's probably further than we are. She's almost out the room there. I said, "Don't forget the most important part." She's heading out the door. She goes, "What, the peppermint or what?" I said, "No, prayer." She goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" I said, no, ma'am. And she starts walking toward me just a little bit, and she starts telling the story, and that's that lady. It's that lady. I said, I got to talk to you. So I walk over there. I said, I got some questions. Same husband? Yeah. I said, does he still believe in God? Oh, yes, he believes in God. I said, now I didn't get to ask you a question. Do you believe in God? She goes, oh, I do. And she says, and literally she was standing right where I first met her. She goes, it all happened right here. And I said, so what are you doing? What are you doing for church? What are you doing? She goes, oh, we're very involved in Lincoln Baptist Church. We're very involved. And I said, that's great. She said, I got to go. She's gone. I haven't seen her again. I don't know what's going to happen with this lady, but isn't God good? Now, if I told her that the Allimed, that's what we use, the Allimed is what could heal her husband, would we have seen that outcome? No. No. If I told her I could heal her husband, would we have seen that outcome?
No.
Probably nothing. No. I mean, if you don't give credit to God, good chance nothing is going to happen. God is the one that makes it happen. That is why we're learning hydrotherapy today. Yes, for our own selves. Yes, for our families. But it's also a chance to help a person who's in need and to be able to share with that person, God is the one that will do this, use this, and provide the healing that whatever problem you have. Is that thing? Oh, it's gone. Is it okay?
We tried hooking it up to upstairs also, and it screwed it up. So
Oh, okay. Is there a possibility we could go to another slide? I mean, another PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, go PowerPoints, walk across, health, wound care.
Quick question.
Yes.
What is the shelf life of the Allimed?
Allimed, they used to tell us it was 1 year. I'd have people tell me, oh, it's good for 2.5 years. Actually, they just did a bunch of research on it, and they said easy 5, possible 10. So it's got a long shelf life, as long as it's kept in the refrigerator or freezer. Did you find wound care? Very on the bottom. Pardon?
The one without a number or the one?
Oh, yeah, it's true. Try any one of them should work. Okay, go to the second slide. Okay, go ahead and enlarge. Now, this is a foot where a doctor called me and she said, Walt, can you help me? Will these lights go off? And she said, we're getting ready to amputate this foot. Can you help me? He's a diabetic. He's the guy that had osteomyelitis. And go to the next slide.
You're going to have to use the clicker.
Oh, got you. Thank you. Okay, this is 2 weeks later. We're starting to fill in really good there. Look at the heel. The heel's much superior here. I mean, y'all do wound care. Doesn't that look better? Okay. And then check this out. 4 weeks later. 4 weeks later, look at that heel. And then look, we're ready for a skin graft. Isn't that cool? And hydrotherapy was a huge part of that. Now, people say, Walt, there is no way you can do hydrotherapy on that. You can't do hot and cold. They're right. You can't do hot and cold. You can do warm and cool. You want contrast. What can it tolerate? Textbook on hot and cold is 130 degrees. That is literally textbook. And 70. I did textbook, 103. Blistered the top of his foot. Never had that happen before. I said, okay, let's go to 100 degrees. Went to 100 degrees, we had no more problems. So from now on, I do 100 degrees because it could happen. I don't want to blister somebody's foot. We juiced him because he had diabetes. We gave him Allimed, 1 teaspoon twice a day because of the osteomyelitis. And then we did the hydrotherapy. And then we sprayed the Allimed onto the area because of the osteomyelitis. Then we put the salve on there, the golden seal, the myrrh, the frankincense, the pine sap. I think I'd use B. propolis at this time. And then also aloe vera. And then just painted it, not thick. And then put a charcoal poultice on there and did that twice a day. And God blessed it. In a month, what happened in a month? In 1 month, his foot was healed. I think that's pretty healed, and put the graft on it. It was pretty decent. Osteomyelitis was totally gone. And the diabetes was gone. Isn't God good?
Was he at home during this time, or where was he?
He was at home. They were taking care of him at home. Yes. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. If they're in the system, it's hard to sometimes do. Now,
What was his diet change to change the diabetes?
we went to juicing. Vegetable juice with a little apple.
Is that all he lived on?
That's all we did. That's all we did. 16 ounces, 3 times a day for a whole month.
No solid food?
No, just the juicing.
Okay.
Yes. It was totally safe. He did well. You don't want to do a lot of fruit juice with diabetes, but I don't like a lot of fruit juice anyway because of just the fructose. But that's what hydrotherapy can help do. In hydrotherapy, you're getting vasodilation, vasoconstriction, vasodilation, vasoconstriction. It's like an inline pump pumping the blood. Inspiration tells us perfect health is perfect circulation. That's right. So in circulation, you have blood. So you got to have, bottom line to health is what's in the blood. Blood is your fuel. Do you have kerosene or do you have 115 octane? And then you want to keep the bad stuff out of the blood, but you want to have in the blood what it needs. Fats, proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, water, hormones. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's in the blood. All that good stuff has to be there. Enzymes, breaking stuff down. But you got to have the good stuff in there. And then you got to have good perfusion. You got to have good blood flow. And that's what hydrotherapy is going to do, is it's going to increase your blood flow. Anybody ever work in PT?
I'm a physical therapist.
You're a PT. So you were trained in hydrotherapy. It was probably 92 that I quit doing the majority of our hydrotherapy in healthcare because our intermediaries quit paying us. And you probably don't do as much as you used to. Nurses, were y'all trained hydrotherapy years ago? I'd say back there, yeah, absolutely. The older you are, the more you were trained.
Mountain Sanitarium Hospital in Fletcher, North Carolina.
Absolutely. Physicians used to be trained in hydrotherapy years ago. It's extremely successful in helping with a lot of stuff. Insurance company told me that when I asked, because we got rid of all of our extremity whirlpools and all that stuff because we didn't get paid for it. You don't get paid for it, you don't do it. As corporate told us, you get paid for a Cadillac, you give a Cadillac. You get paid for a Pinto, you give them a Pinto. You give them what you get paid for, and that's terrible. But it's reality. You can't give Rolls Royces if you don't get paid for it. And you're basically driven by what the intermediaries will pay you for, the insurance companies, what the insurance companies pay for. And they told me it was cheaper to do drugs, and they quit doing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and swap back over to hydrotherapy. Yes, Ken.
Could you whip off that list again of things that you applied to that?
Okay, so the first thing we did was
Aloe and something else.
Okay, yes. So the first thing we juiced him, because you've got to have nutrition, as our nutritionist will tell you. You've got to have good nutrition for a wound to heal. You can't have tobacco. Tobacco cannot be there.
What was the formula? Like carrot, apple?
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Cabbage?
Anything.
Okay.
Yeah, just vegetable, any kind. And you want variety.
Okay.
A variety of juices.
Combined variety.
Yes, just variety. Yes, sir.
Does anybody need more light in here? Do you want more light? You want to turn that light back on?
Yeah, they can't see.
Can you do it over here?
I was just saying, can you just turn the kitchen light on?
Well, the issue we're having is in the video, this picture here
Uh-huh.
is a mirror. Because the light's on over there, this becomes a mirror.
Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, and I'm sitting down, so you probably can't see me in the
You're
video.
fine.
Is that okay?
You gotcha.
Okay.
Problem solved. Is that better?
So we did the juicing. We did the Alimed because of the osteomyelitis, the infection. 1 teaspoon twice a day. And then we did the hydrotherapy. 3 minutes warm, 1 minute cool. 3 minutes warm, 1 minute cool, 7 times. And then we did we sprayed the area with Alimed because of the osteomyelitis. And that normally you wouldn't do that unless there was infection. And then we did the salve, which is 1 part golden seal powder, 1 part myrrh powder. Sure. 1 part golden seal powder, 1 part myrrh powder, 1 part frankincense powder, and anywhere between a half to a full part pine sap, if you have pine sap. Pine sap is crazy expensive. Do y'all know what I pay for pine sap, a gallon of pine sap? You want to guess? What do you think? $400. I pay $3,000 when I buy a gallon at a time. Yeah.
Can't we figure out a way to go get out?
Well, I'd love to. Well, you can. You can. Small amounts and use it at that time. But to preserve it, there's a process that they do to preserve it. And I'd love someone to figure it out that's a whole lot more economical. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a business.
Yeah. $3,000 is my price. Yeah. Crazy. So pine sap, based on what you can afford. Anywhere from a half to a if you can't get pine sap, you can use pine oil. You could put some pine oil in there, essential oil. You can pardon?
I'm so sorry, I'm behind. What's this Alimed thing you mentioned, or what? How I don't know exactly how it's spelled or say.
Allimed. Allimed. It's garlic. It takes 24 cloves of garlic to make 1 drop of this stuff.
Oh, you got to buy it.
Yes. And here's okay. You can take your garlic, and there's 2 components in garlic that, when put together like a compound, it makes allicin. Now, allicin is very unstable. So, have you ever seen people go and crush garlic in a garlic press? The reason they do that is that's what activates it. When you squash it, is that a word? Squash?
Yes.
Squish? Whatever. When you squish it, it goes in, it combines it and smashes it together, like mixing 2 components together like epoxy glue. Now it's going to work. But the stabilization is very short. And so you need to eat it then. Well, there's a company in England. There's some other companies, but they haven't been able to do what the company in England does. The England is just a much superior product. And theirs will last, as we just mentioned, as much as now we're found 5 to 7 years, as long as it's kept cold. So stabilization is the key on garlic. And so you can use garlic, crush it, use it. But the problem is, so when I do a teaspoon, how many drops are in a teaspoon? Times 24. No way our stomach's going to handle that much garlic. It's kind of like when you use bromelain out of pineapple, or if you use Domanos out of cranberries for UTIs. To get copious amounts, you've got to have, it's like when that nutritionist told the doc, you need that patient needs a quart of cranberry juice every meal. Well, that's not an option. And so to get that much Domanos, it's real simple. You just do the powder instead of using the cranberry juice. And you do 1 teaspoon every 2 hours. You can do 2 teaspoons every 2 hours if you need to. So then it's the frankincense, myrrh, golden seal, frankincense, and myrrh, pine sap, and then I use aloe vera gel. About 1.5, 2 parts aloe vera gel. You can use aloe vera juice. It doesn't work. It gets real liquidy, and to get the consistency I like to use, I like to just paint it on. I don't want to gob it in there because we're going to do a hydrotherapy in 12 hours to get it off. We want that totally off, put a whole new supply on. So we just kind of paint it on. And with that, when you have a wound like that, you want to be careful putting that on. And it being more liquidy, like I do it about pancake batter consistency, as you put it on there, it's not as painful. Now, what do we do for pain? Best thing I found for pain is wild lettuce. Wild lettuce, phenomenal. We use it for bone cancer. We use it for all kinds of cancer. And so you take a quart of water, bring it to a boil, turn it off, add 1 cup of wild lettuce, and 1 cup of skullcap. Skullcap. And it's a nervine also. But those two together work very good synergistically for pain. Then you do 1 cup every 2 hours. If that works well, go to every 3 hours. If that works well, so you go to least dosing, the least amount that works. And then if they have something that happens, they need to pick it up, pick it up. But wild lettuce, we could tell stories and stories on wild lettuce. Excellent for pain. All right. Let's go back to hydrotherapy. Thank you. Y'all have got me till 2 o'clock. I have to leave at 2 o'clock to go get her on an airplane. So.
After what crossed with that wild lettuce recipe that you just gave, which I don't know if it's related, is that, what do you do with it then? So
Okay, so what you do is, pardon? You drank it?
drink it.
Yes, you drank it. Drink 1 cup every 2 hours. Yes.
You just put it in water?
So what you do is you take a quart of water, bring it to a boil. You're making an infusion. Turn it off. You're adding, you're adding a cup of wild lettuce, a cup of skullcap, and you want to make that infusion for at least 30 minutes. You can let it sit all night if you want to. And then you want good and strong. And then if you have a French press, y'all know what a French press is. Those, I like those. And then y'all know what a French press is? Everybody know? Okay, good. Okay, so what it is, it's,
Thing you make coffee with.
yes, can I borrow your cup? There we go. This might work better, about this side. So it's a real cool little thing, and it's got a little push thing you can push down, like a strainer you push down, and then you can, I'm not going to dump this because it might pour out. And so then you can pour it, and it keeps the herb down in there, so it keeps infusing in there and getting, still keeping it strong. And you don't plumb strain. You could strain it all at one time, but it works better if you use a French press. You're keeping that herb in there, and it makes it stronger.
So you
Thank you.
drink 8 ounces every hour?
Correct. No, 2 hours. 1 cup, 8 ounces every 2 hours. If that works well, go to every 3 hours. If that works well, go to every 4. I've had numerous folks with bone cancer, and it works better than the morphine. It's phenomenal how powerful wild lettuce is. You can also use Jamaican dogwood. You can also use California poppy. I was concerned because I was using a lot of wild lettuce for folks back before I understood for arthritis, about MSM, about turmeric, about going away from wheat. Those are three. Going away from wheat is probably the best thing I found for arthritis. Someone mentioned the other night. Who is the lady here that quit the nightshades? Okay, that's another great one. Take the cause away. I was just treating it. I was treating signs and symptoms with the wild lettuce. So if you can get rid of the cause, the wheat, the nightshades, then you don't have to treat pain because you don't have pain. You took the cause away. You can use MSM. MSM is excellent for arthritis because it cuts down on the inflammation. So when I started learning these in turmeric, then I quit using as much wild lettuce. But I was using quite a bit. A lot of folks were coming with arthritis. So there's a guy, who's ever heard of Bastyr University? It's probably the best ND program in America. And it's really good. You're working on cadavers. It's good school. But there's a lot of stuff that we don't believe in also there. And so I don't recommend that school because you've got to get into some of that Eastern stuff that we don't do. But the guy who started that school, co-founder, Dr. Mitchell, I called him and I said, Dr. Mitchell, I'm doing this much with wild lettuce. Any problem with it? And he said, Walt, I've used wild lettuce for patients for years. And he said he was an extremely good biochemist. He said, you can use it long term. There's no contraindications with any medications, any other herbs. It's totally safe, no liver damage. So you can use wild lettuce long term. Okay. Hydrotherapy. So hydrotherapy is the use of water. Doesn't that look like a fun job, y'all? You'd enjoy that one, wouldn't you? Yeah, that'd be a good PT job. So hydrotherapy is used in veterinarian work. And in human work. I love aquatherapy. It's tremendous. I had the guy I told you that He came in 572 pounds. He couldn't walk. Literally, the guy couldn't walk hardly a lick. So I stuck him in. We had an Olympic-sized pool, and I had him in the pool 2 hours, a total of 2 hours a day. He could walk in that. The wild lettuce. The wild lettuce, it grows. It may even grow here. It grows. Okay, it does grow here. Good. It grew very well in Tennessee this year.
It's prickly, so you have to
Yes.
pick it up.
And so you have a picture of it there. So you can just harvest it yourself, dry it. There you go. Yes. And then you just chop it up, cut and sifted. I like making teas out of cut and sifted better than powder. It just because it's going to be better if you drink the powder, but because you're going to end up drinking it. But it works good. Okay, here's a little extremity whirlpool here. No, actually, no. That's more like an ultrasound. I mean, what do they call this one here? It's got sonic waves or something. That one is. He's walking against current. Yes. Now, and you can do that in a swimming pool. What I'd have my patients do is to get together and say 4 or 5 people, and they walk clockwise, and they stop, go counterclockwise, and stop, go, and that they're walking against the current, and that works good. And you don't have to have highfalutin things like this. You can take milk jugs, fill them full of water, and as they get better, put less and less water in. The more air it is, harder for them to push down. Milk jugs work really well, and it's cheap. Oh, here we go. Could have gone to there. Now, this is a fomentation. You probably used these, haven't you? Can you tell me where they were invented? Chattanooga, Tennessee. Actually, they were invented in a little town called White Oak, Tennessee. He was my neighbor, and he invented them in his garage. And he worked for the Chattanooga Lookouts as one of their trainers. And he got tired of using towels, and so he came up with a Hydrocollator Pack. And what is in there is bentonite clay, and it just keeps the heat in there. And you have a hydrocollator container that hot water, y'all probably seen in therapy. You just drop that down in there. Be careful. Don't let them dry out. They'll go bad if they dry out. So you always want to keep them in the water. Here's one for the knee, one for the hand, shoulder. And so what he did was he was working for the Chattanooga Lookouts, which is a baseball team, a minor league baseball team, and we use towels like we're going to use today. Well, he thought there's got to be a better way than using towels, and he came up with this here. Now this is what we know, and this is just using towels. Do y'all have the towels? Have you gotten the towels yet?
They're in that room there.
Okay, great. And so it's real simple. And we'll trying to think how to do this. Let's do it this way. And so what you do is you put a barrier towel, and then you put a hot towel, and then you put a blanket or something on top. And you leave it there for about 3 minutes, is what textbook is. And then you take it off, and you can either put an ice cold towel on for 1 minute, or you can do something called a cold mitten friction. And that's why you brought your washcloths today, is to do cold mitten frictions. And with the cold mitten friction, you just do it for 30 seconds. Now, most folks will dip it down in the ice water for 30 seconds and wring it out and do it for 30 seconds. I don't. I put it in the ice water and wring it out and do it for 15 seconds, put it back in the ice water and do it for another 15 seconds. I want it as cold as possible. Or you can just put plum cold ice. My daughter I got double pneumonia this summer, and my daughter was treating me, and Mary Lou had to go back to work, and she was doing hydrotherapy on me, and I told her I was out of it. I was out of it, and I said, I think you put the cold. She didn't do cold mitten friction. She just put a cold hand towel on there. And I said, I think you put ice on there too. I really do. And she goes, no, I didn't, Dad. I said, I really think you did. It was cold. And but I was plumb out of it. But anyway, it works. I mean, literally, my O2 sat would jump. Literally would jump. My O2 sat was down in the 80, 81. And so I had Walter call a friend of mine who had a concentrator And on 5 liters, I was able to get back up to 95. That was the max I could get to. If I go down to 4.5 liters, I was back to low 80s. And this here significantly improved each time my O2 sat in doing the treatment. Works well. Okay, where's the towels? Okay, let's turn the lights on. And what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm trying to think how to do it. Okay, yes, we'll need those. So, okay, so these will work. So what you'll do, I guess we can kind of pretend like you do with is there a young'un here? Is our little fella still here? Oh, there we go. Great. Excellent. I'll use that little fella. Good. Do you want to help me or do you want to help me? Which one? I need just one. Okay, who's going to help me? You are? Excellent. Great. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. And then, y'all know, y'all have done CPR on mannequins, right? So you can pretend you got a mannequin on the table you're doing this on. All right, so you ready? Hop on up here. So what you do is you strip them from, you strip them down. Go ahead and lay down. And you strip them down, and from the, nothing on the chest, and you bare the chest. And that's why ladies work on ladies and men work on men. It's kind of a good idea. All right, boy, they're nice to you. Yeah, I wasn't nice. There you go, gotcha. Okay, so now if you're doing it on the bed, I like using a massage table. That works good, but most folks don't have a massage table at the house, and so you can take a bed, but you can take the shower curtain, put it on the bed. You can take a garbage bag and lay it out on the bed because you don't want to get the bed wet and mess up the bed. And so you get all your supplies together. What do we need? We need a couple towels. We're going to need a blanket. We need a barrier towel. We need a washcloth. We're going to need a towel for the head. We're going to need a basin of ice water. We're going to, I'm going to show you 2 treatments, just the basic treatment like that, and then I'm going to show you something called a revulsive treatment. If you've done revulsive treatment front and back, it's a little more powerful. This is the basic, what she's doing there. And so I get all my supplies together. Now what do I do? What's the most important thing to do?
Pray.
Pray. Yeah, pray. Now I don't fake pray, so we just pray, and that God will bless it, and then we do it. It's good to tell the patient what you're going to do. That's smart. Now we're not dealing with HIPAA. HIPAA. Did you notice HIPAA's kind of gone away? I wonder why. I wonder why. Because what we're talking about today out there would not be legal in HIPAA. But it's kind of disappeared, which I'm kind of glad. I'm just old school, like helping people. But you don't do it for HIPAA. You just do it because it's the right thing to do. Tell the person, don't scare them. Let them know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a towel on your chest. Yes.
Can we ask these 2 ladies?
Oh yeah.
You guys could relocate.
Yeah. Okay.
For a lot of people,
All right.
Yeah,
All right. Can y'all still see okay there? Okay, great. Okay, great. Y'all good? Okay. So we're going to put a towel on your chest. We're going to put a hot towel in, and then leave it there for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to do 2 different things. We're going to do either a cold towel for about a minute, or we're going to do something called a cold mitten friction. Now, fortunately, we're doing it dry, so you're not going to feel it. And we're just going to go back and forth. You good? I'm going to put a towel on your head. Okay, great. So what you do is you got your barrier towel. Why do you have your barrier towel?
Keep everything dry.
Yes, plus, that is a part of it.
Getting burned.
Okay, keep them from getting burned. But dryness is, and you mentioned something that is very important that we'll show in just a minute. You can actually get...
The ordering us out of it.
Really? We'll work real hard. You can actually get steam burn, and so we dry it off. So you do want it dry.
How many layers?
1 layer of a barrier towel. Now that's a very good question. How many layers? Depends on how hot your towel is. Sometimes the patient goes, I'm getting hot, stick another layer. So that's a very good question. Very good question. So then what I'll do is I'll take a towel. Now, usually I use a full-size towel, but let's say we're faking this as a full-size towel. This works perfect for him. And we used to take it and dab it down in a kettle of boiling water. And then you had tongs that you stick in there, and and you have these rubber gloves, and you're trying to wring it out, and you don't want all that boiling water getting on them, and so it's just hard to work with. So when I came back to went back to Tennessee, we'd had a microwave, and I was learning better, and so got rid of my microwave. Wait a minute, how am I going to do hydrotherapy? So I had to go get another microwave. And so what I'll do is I'll take the towel, full-size towel, and I dab it down. Y'all know what dabbing is? Yeah. Stick it in hot water and wring it out. Not too hot that I can't handle. And wring it out, and then I'll get me a Walmart bag, T-shirt bag, stick it in there, and then stick it in the microwave. Every microwave's different, usually 2-3 minutes, whatever it needs. It's best to have an assistant that can be running back and forth doing the microwave thing for you. You can do it by yourself. It works. It just takes a lot longer. And so you bring that towel in, and you lay that towel onto the chest. And then you put a blanket on top. You've got a bowl of ice water, and with a washcloth or hand towel, and you put it here. Keep the brain nice and cold. Hot here. We do this for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. It's excellent for pneumonia. Worked good for me. I had double pneumonia, and worked very well. We'll look in a little while where it was the #1 treatment for the influenza of 1918. When I was in college, listen to old people. Listen to old people. They know what they're talking about many times. And this older fella, he was 96 years old, I believe, at the time. He was he was a nurse from World War I. And he was in the military, and he said, "I need to tell you something. You might need this someday." He said, "You're taking health care. I just need to pass this along." I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "This is the best treatment the United States Army used for the influenza of 1918." And so he taught me about this treatment right here. It was the best. The Army literally went to Battle Creek at nighttime in the dark and took truckloads of staff out of Battle Creek to another location because, don't let the enemy know what's going on, whatever. Literally took them to another location, and Battle Creek did hydrotherapy on soldiers. Isn't that amazing? So we leave it for 3 minutes. We take this off, take the barrier towel off, and then you have 2 options. You can dab this down in the ice water and place it here for 1 minute.
Without the barrier towel?
Without the barrier towel. Plum ice on this last summer, I couldn't handle the cold mitten friction. It was just, I couldn't handle it. And so I told Ashley, don't do the cold mitten friction. Just put it on my chest. I don't remember. It bothered me. And so you leave it there for 1 minute. Now, the other is the cold mitten friction. So you dab it down in the ice water, and then oh, okay. And you do that I do it for 30 seconds. I do it for 15, get it again. So I just want it as cold as possible. What is this doing more than just the water, the ice? Increase in circulation. And that's the whole treatment is after circulation. Vasodilation, vasoconstriction. Vasodilation with the hot, vasoconstriction with the cold. Then you got another towel coming. You got it out of the microwave, someone brings to you, put it on there. Got your barrier towel, put it on there. And you want to squeeze this out, put this back on. How you doing? You doing okay? Great. And you do that 7 times. You can do it 3-4 times a day. If they're really sick. They did it for me 3-4 times a day.
How long did your improvement last?
Oh, how long did I feel good?
The bump in your
O2 sat?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I was sick. I don't remember. Yeah, I was out of it. Literally, I was talking. Literally, I was talking and people didn't understand me. And then people talked to me and I didn't understand them. It was crazy. Yeah. Okay. So This is the regular treatment there. So let's try that. You got here's some towels. Do y'all have more towels?
Yeah, there's more.
Excellent, good. Okay, if y'all can pass these around.
How many are we taking out?
Well, just take you 2 of them. And you got your washcloth. And just kind of pass them around. We may not have enough towels, I don't know. You can pair up and do it. But it's just kind of muscle memory. No, sir. You can if you want to. That's fine. We can do it. For one person, we can do that.
Hey, Jay, you lay down up here, take your shirt off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got a snorkel? You got a snorkel? Don't let me forget that. Don't let me forget snorkel, y'all. I tell you, it is so difficult. There's so much to cover. Okay.
Well, the weather's so bad here, you may not be able to make your flight. We'll send you back next week. Hey, don't you go to sleep?
Okay, so go ahead and start practicing. You can stand up and you can practice. You got a patient there visually in your mind, and so what you're doing is you're laying the barrier towel. You've got then you've got your hot towel on there. And then what you're doing, take your washcloth, and you're doing the cold mitten friction. And you're visualizing you have a patient there in front of you.
So this is now, does it matter which way you function, circular motion?
No, usually it's just back and forth, just to increase circulation. Okay, good. You want to do it on him? There you go. Great.
We do have hot water and stuff. How many towels does each person take?
Well, when we do the revulsive treatment, we're going to do double because we're doing the back also.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying for people to do like this right here. I mean, I don't have more, but if we pair it up, it would take half as many towels, and then we could do like a hot and cold treatment on an arm or something like that.
We could. Yeah. Let's try that. That's fine.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Now, did you take hydrotherapy at Hardin?
No, I did not.
How'd you get out of that?
I worked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. See, when I was probably Caleb's age, a little older, I had pneumonia, and my grandma went to Madison, and she knew hydrotherapy.
Sure.
My dad hydrotherapy.
Yeah.
And they did a hydrotherapy treatment on me. Put me in a lazy boy to climb me back. Man, that cold water was cold. When they got done with like a 10-minute treatment or whatever, I couldn't walk. I was so tired.
Wow. It's effective.
Hey guys, can I have your attention for a second, please? I'd like all your attention for a second. If you guys would like to actually do a treatment on somebody, why don't you pair up? Find somebody else who would like to do a treatment. Pair up. I have hot water over here. I can stick my hand in it. But
You might want to let them know you're not doing the chest.
you like the arm. You can do each other's arms. Yeah. Good point. But pair up, and then we'll you'll have twice as many towels in, and we'll come back through. We have a few more towels left. So if you guys wanted to do each other's arms, you'd have an opportunity to do the rubs and everything. So is anybody game for that? Does anybody want to do that? Nobody. Okay. All right then.
Okay, good.
Solve that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was sharing with them. I was in Africa, and I was teaching how to do vitals, and I was telling the men, when you're checking for chest rise, and you're checking for if they're breathing, you're checking for respirations. Check for chest rise or maybe abdominal, but kind of can look out the side of your eye so that you don't make the lady uncomfortable. And they're going, it doesn't matter here. What's it to look at the breast? That's nothing. So different cultures, different ways. Okay, so y'all practice there. Okay, now, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a revulsive treatment. A revulsive treatment. And the revulsive treatment is where we're getting both the chest and the back. And you can do this even in the treatment we're doing now, but it's not normal that we do it. And so, obviously, you take the shoes off. But go ahead and bend your knees up. Bend this one up. And then, so what you'll do is you'll put hot, good warm water that's tolerable in here. Test it first. You know what I'm saying? Well, obviously, we have prayer again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to, you hold their feet. You don't say stick your feet in the pot in the water. You know, you take and you put your hands underneath the feet and you put them in it. You're careful with them. You're tender with them. Let's see if that's going to work. Now, when we did that before, I also put a blanket and a towel and whatever on top of them. I failed to mention that. So we're going to do the chest again. Got the barrier towel. We've got the fomentation. We've got the towel on the head. How long do we go?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, let me back up. Hang on a sec. Okay, so what we're going to do, put your hand here, on here. Okay, I want you to sit up. Sit up. So we're going to put a hot towel here. We're going to put a barrier towel here. And okay, go ahead and lay down. There we go. Now, how long do we go?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Yes, thank you. There you go.
Did you do the chest first and this is second?
Normally I put the back down first, and then I put it on the chest. I just forgot. So,
It's just hot, cold.
hot. Yes. So normally I put the on the back first. Then now you need a watch. So it's been 3 minutes since I put it on the back. Now what he's going to do, he's going to go like this. He's going to sit up. Take this away. I've got my washcloth. Yep, I'm going to do my cold mitten friction for how long?
15 seconds or 30 seconds.
That's right, a full 30 seconds. And then, or you can do plumb cold and lay them back on it. It's a lot easier to do the cold mitten friction if they will let you on the back. It's just a whole lot, you're not bending up and down. Then you're going to put your barrier towel. You're going to put your hot towel, a new hot towel, lay it down. Then we're going to do the cold mitten friction. And now, what you said, you want to dry it off. And then put your hot towel, or your barrier towel, then your hot towel. Because if it's still moist, you can have some steam issues. I haven't really ever seen that, but it is a textbook thing to do. And then you're monitoring your time on the bottom one. That's the only one you're monitoring. Now, you're staying there. Okay, we got to do the back again. Okay, fold across here. Okay, lean up. And then going here, cold mitten friction. Dry it off. Barrier towel. A new hot one. See how having somebody going back and forth is going to help you?
Should the hot one be down and then the barrier?
The barrier. Thank you. The hot one, then the barrier. Thank you. Yes. The lay it down. Thank you. Did I do it opposite?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And then you do the chest. You do the what? Cold mitten friction. Then you're going to dry it off. You're going to put the barrier towel, the hot towel, and the blanket again. Just back and forth, and you're doing it 7 times. And you're putting the cold back here. Plus, you got to be over here checking this, where you take this, pour it out, put some more water in. Can't just keep adding hot water because it's going to pour out. So you got to pour this out into another basin, put some hot water, put your feet back here. This here, just monitor it. If it gets hot, if it starts getting cool, then add some more. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Pardon? A warm water bottle.
Can you use a warm water bottle instead of warm water in a basin?
I've only used a basin, but that would work if you didn't have water in a basin. You sure could. It's just something to cause vasodilation down here. So you could, like a hot water bottle or something. Yes.
Is it just hot enough for them to tolerate?
You want it as hot as you can. You want it good and hot. Yeah, you want it as hot as they will tolerate. Yeah, you want it good and hot. So yes, you could. Improvising. Medical missionary work. The first thing that you got to realize in medical missionary work is to be able to be flexible. You got to be flexible. based on what the person, based on what you have. You can't say, well, I don't have that kind of stuff. That's, you know, I'm over in Africa now, and, you know, yeah, like when I went to Venezuela and I made a charcoal poultice, do you think they had saran wrap? No. Do you think they had paper towels? No. We used sheets and rewash those sheets and rewash those sheets. When you went to the bathroom, no matter what you went for, you only had 2 squares. That is all you were allowed. Medical missionary work is improvising. Okay, yes, another question, Kent. Yes?
Is there any benefit in using Epsom salts in the foot bath?
You can, yes. It's magnesium. It's going to help calm. So there are good benefits in that. I like using Epsom salt, yes. For Epsom salt to work well, it needs to be warm water. It doesn't work well if it's under 100 degrees. Yes?
So I think I'm not sure if I was lost or not, but were you alternating between chest? Like every time you sat him up, one time was a chest rub, the next time was the back rub, or did you do them both?
Did them both, and I might have missed.
Every set.
When I'm doing it actual, I remember. Sometimes when I'm doing here, I missed it. So let's do it again so we don't forget. Yes?
Well, he said Epsom salts, and I had a question I was going
Yes.
to ask you. Why can't diabetics have Epsom salts on their feet?
I use it.
Because I've been told.
Oh, I tell you why.
Yeah, why?
Probably because it is said that Epsom salts only activates in hot water.
Okay.
And then they'll say, well, you can't use hot water on a diabetic
Why?
because they don't have good they don't have good circulation down there, and they can't. Two reasons. One is they may not feel the hot. The other is they don't have good perfusion to protect the tissue from the extreme temperatures, cold or hot. And so you can use, like the 100-degree water is fine on a diabetic. And you could do Epsom salt. It's better to have Epsom salt at hotter water. A lot of times they'll say you can't do foot baths on a diabetic.
But that's only 'cause
Alternate.
of the temperature. And
It's only the temperature because they only think hot. But you can go warm, and it's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
All right, okay.
Yes.
All right.
So that would be the case with anybody with neuropathy.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but it can be warm
It can be warm, 100 degrees. 100 degrees should be perfectly fine.
for any neuropathy.
Textbook's 103. I just found on this one guy that you just saw, it blistered at 103. So I've gone down to 100 and not had any more blistering. And he had no more blistering. Okay, so let's do it again just to make sure, because I might have forgot. So go ahead and sit up. So we put the hot towel, we put the barrier towel. Make it comfortable here. So hot, then barrier, lay on down. And then we put the barrier, then the hot, a sheet, a blanket, hot water, an ice rag. 3 minutes, he's on the bottom one. Then he crosses his hands across his chest. He sits up. We can leave we totally move it. We take the ice, cold mitten friction, a full 30 seconds, whether you do 15-15. Dry it off. And again, not everybody does that. It's just textbook. I've never seen anybody hurt with it, but it's safety. And then you put your hot towel, your barrier towel, your ice pack back on the head. Take this off. Cold mitten friction, 30 seconds. Or if you want to plumb put that just the cold for 1 minute, you could. It's easier. Dry it off. Barrier towel, hot towel, sheet, blanket, check your water, keep checking this. And that's what you're doing. For 7 times. And you're doing it, yeah. And then when you're finished, okay, when you're finished, you can go ahead and take all this off. Go ahead and sit up.
You want to end on hot or cold?
You end with cold. Thank you. You end with cold. And then, get your feet down here. You take your ice water, come over here, and you pick up his feet, and you pour the ice water over his feet. Yeah. And then you dry it off. After hydrotherapy, Dr. Thomas found, he was at Loma Linda. He was do you know Thomas? He's a PT, top PT at Loma Linda. Excellent. If you ever watched 3ABN back in the 90s, in the early teens, the early 2000s. He was the Indian doctor that was on 3ABN a lot, teaching from Loma Linda. Thomas found that whether it's a fever treatment, whether any of these type of treatments, go sleep for at least 30 minutes, best yet 2 hours. It helps the immune system. And so just let the patient rest. Now, if you are on a massage table, don't go off and leave them, because they can fall off, break a hip, break a shoulder, whatever. Especially if they're in a wet sheet pack. Because see, what you're going to do is you don't just leave him like this when he's sleeping. You're going to tuck him up real good and warm. And when he starts to get up, he could trip. Anybody ever tripped out of bed and fallen? I did when I was a kid. I tripped on a sheet getting out of bed. I think I was 6 or 7. Broke a finger or a thumb, something. So you want to monitor that person when you have them like that. All right. Thank you, sir. I might need you again.
Got some sit-ups.
All right. There you go. Good job. Okay. So that is how this treatment. Any questions on the fomentations or the revulsive treatment?
I was just telling Gloria, it's been some years ago, because I have trouble with my leg swelling. So I have trouble with my leg swelling, I was telling you last night, and I've been to many doctors, and they don't know why. I've been through the lymphedema treatment and all that. So my mother thought she would do this hot and cold treatment on me. I remember thinking, what in the world is she doing? Because I was just a young teenager at the time. And, I was sitting on the couch, and she brings, Dad brings his big bucket of hot water, and then she had a bucket of water with ice in it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she puts my legs in the big 5-gallon bucket of hot water, and she timed it, and then I went into the cold. It was unbearable. And she says, well, just a little bit, and then we have to go back in hot. After a few times doing that, I had the most intense headache.
Mm. Did you have?
And I just
did
had
you have
to
the ice
stop.
pack? Did you have the ice pack on your head?
No, she had nothing on my head.
Sometimes that helps. The ice pack helps with the headache part.
Yeah, I remember the intense headache that I got.
Yeah.
And maybe then you think it's because I didn't have
it could
cold
be.
on my head.
It could be you didn't have the cold. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about how to do something for migraines, and a big part of that is the ice pack here and the ice pack here and the hot water down there.
But I don't normally get migraines.
Yes.
I don't suffer from headaches. But I remember that procedure was unbearable for me.
Well, I can tell you when Ashley was in Mary Lou, but when Mary Lou was there, she was doing the treatments on me. It was uncomfortable, but I knew that I felt so much better with it. We did it, but it wasn't something I wanted because I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable just being there. So.
Did that help you?
Yes.
Your mom did those?
Oh.
Did it help the swelling?
I don't think so.
Mm.
I don't remember. I just remember that intense headache. And the pain, it just hurt my legs, too.
Maybe you're stirring up toxins in the body too.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's because that's
Yeah.
why she got the headache.
Yeah, it could be. Yes, ma'am.
This is just a quick little story. When you were talking about the 1918 flu,
Yes.
my mother was born in November of 1917.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she was 6 months old, she and her mother both got the flu, and they were dying.
Wow.
And my grandfather had heard about a German lady in the neighborhood that was nursing people and stuff, and he begged her. She wasn't going to take any more patients, and he just literally got down on his hands and knees and begged her to come and save his little baby and his wife. And so she came, and the only story that I know that my mother related, obviously she didn't remember it, but was that this woman stuck her in a mustard bath. And she said her mother told her that was the first time you cried in weeks, because she was so weak she couldn't even whimper as an infant. And it cured them, both of them, and they were saved.
It was not a mustard plaster, it was a mustard bath.
I'm sorry, a mustard bath, yes.
A plaster or a bath?
I believe it was a bath.
Okay.
I believe that's what she said.
The mustard plaster was used a lot also at that time, and also very effective, and you can do the front and the back. But I warn you, if you do a mustard bath, take Vaseline or something and put it on any orifice. It will light you up.
Well, they were desperate at that time.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And mustard works very well. It does. We do mustard baths, but I have a friend, and you know him, and he did a mustard, and he got out. It lit him up.
That's probably why she's free.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so here is some whirlpools that you can use. Here's a larger whirlpool. That's kind of a shower type of thing that's used. Here's a, now why do you think that guy has a treadmill with water? He's more buoyant, so it's not as hard on his joints or whatever going on. Remember you saw the dog and the horse doing it. So here they are. So it could be some resistance, but also it could be some more buoyancy too. How about that douche? The best douche I've ever had. The best douche I've ever had. I was in Venezuela, and I went up in the mountains, and there was a waterfall, and I just stood there, and it feels so good. Now, let's see here. You have, who is it has, is it you? You have boys that are firefighters?
I have nephews.
Nephews. Okay. So we get douches as firefighters. Oh, it feels good. So you're after a fire, you're black as could be, soot all over you, and so what you do is you're standing there, and they take the fire hose to you. And it used to be an inch and a half fire hose. Now it's an 1 3/4 fire hose. They learn to be nice to you because you're going to get them. So you learn to be nice. And so what you do is you stand there and they just blow your back and clean you off good, and you turn around. Be careful when you're on the front side. And they clean you off, and it feels so good. It really does. And it's called the douche. And in French, that means what? Shower, yeah. So that water is very powerful. Now, Kellogg was a master in hydrotherapy, in plumbing. That guy was a plumber. And so what he would do, it was called the Pale Pore. Okay, come help me. So what he would do, he started out doing it this way. He would take and, okay, go ahead and stand up. Sorry. And if you can turn around this way. And turn around and plumb that way. There you go. Good job. Okay, and so he would take a bucket with hot water. And he would take it, or cold water, do hot, cold, and he would just take it and just pour it on the patient or on the head. And then you take cold water. It was called the Pale Pore. That's easy, huh? It's called the Pale Pore. And he goes, wait a minute. Okay, thanks, sir. And then he goes, wait a minute. I want more pressure. Then he started doing a chair and laying them down on the floor. And then Kellogg got a ladder and climbed up even higher. He didn't have plumbing yet, there at Battle Creek. And then he came up with tools on how to do it. And then he got up on a ladder and started pouring on the patient. You got more pressure. And so you got that. And then he came up with other devices. I'll show you. So this is it's called the douche. It works, it just feels so good. And you can regulate that temperature. We used a hose. I like a hose about 1 inch. So if you have a shower and you've got a hose, and then you regulate the water like you would with your shower. And then you've got a thermometer on it. So, you do hot, cold, hot, cold. Oh, it really works good. So here's another douche. How would you like that shower at house? All those feel so good. They really do. Yeah. I've never used one where it sprays up from the bottom, but I've had the others before. That'll clean you up good. But it works really well. And now what I'll do is you put a patient in a shower like that, and then you take your hose, and if you got somebody with depression, you stick them in their nice warm shower, and you say, okay, now you turn the shower off, and you take that cold water, and you start working up and down their spine. They start screaming. But let me tell you what, when you're finished, they ain't talking about that depression no more. It really works good. If they have a headache, you can take the cold water, be careful, but you take the cold water and you massage their forehead with this inch hose. Be careful, don't get the eyes. You got to be precision. And you just work that forehead. It works really well. There are people who will actually work in Africa. There are lifestyle centers over there that will actually do the douche for treating malaria. And they'll work the different organs and and they've said they've been able to get rid of malaria by using the douche. Here's a sauna. Y'all seen those before? There's a little older one. It's kind of like back when, remember the ones back in the 60s, the TV programs with the guy with a cigar hanging out of his mouth? Remember those? That's a little older. There you go. These are all saunas. There are dry saunas and there is wet saunas.
Like steam?
Yes, like a steam sauna. Yes. Like a Russian steam bath. 2 different types of saunas, and then there's far infrared saunas. There's different kinds. There's an older one. Get out of y'all's way here. That's an older sauna. And that's the old, remember the shower we just saw? This is what they started out using, these kind of guys. And you see the little shower heads there, a couple shower heads. But that's the first contraptions that were for those multiple head showers.
Is that what Kellogg made there?
I don't know if he made that one or not. I don't remember where I got that picture. So I don't remember if that was a Kellogg one or not. Here's another sauna. Now,
Is it better with today's saunas to have your head, because they're around you completely? Is it good to have your head sticking out like these old ones, or is it good because you're breathing in? Or does it?
I've done both. I can't answer that physiologically. I've done both and had good results with both, so I can't tell you. Let's see. Can you help me? So, you don't have to be highfalutin and have one of these things. Okay, you want to help me then? Okay, come on. There we go. Hop down right there. So, what you can do is you can take this is going back to Kellogg days. You can take a pot, a metal pot, and you put it underneath, and you put water in there. And then you take hot rocks. Now, don't use river rocks. Y'all know why not to use river rocks? What? They'll explode. Yeah, you don't take rocks out of the river and put them in a fire. They can explode. So you take other rocks. And so what Kellogg would do is he would have the pot down there with some hot water, and then he'd put a hot rock in there, or a couple hot rocks. And then he put a towel around them. A sheet, and then a blanket. Put the towel around here. Cold here. And you can put the feet in hot water. That's a good thing to do. I like putting their feet in the hot water. And the bucket's under the chair. Now, there you go. And the best thing is not to use a metal chair because it can get hot. So you don't want to do that. So you got hot water here. You got hot water there with rocks in it, hot rocks. And then you got a sheet around here. You got a blanket around here. And then you got the towel around here. And you got ice here. Can you see how that works? That's what Kellogg started using. Then we found, okay, what else could we do? So then we started using, have you seen them little eyes, electric eyes that you cook with? And you put a pot on it? Well, those, you could put that under there with a pot on there with water. The problem is, I've been in therapy areas where I've seen these little round burn marks on the carpet where it mistakenly got kicked over before. And then Walmart had this thing made. It's really cool. It's like a teapot that you plug in. Y'all seen those? And you just put water in, and it puts steam out. And you put that under there. Well, then what if I don't want a sheet and I don't want to use a blanket? What you can do is you can get a big old thick piece of plastic, cut a hole in it, and you drop it on top of them like you would a poncho. And then you put this around here. And then you can put a blanket if you want to, but that big old thick piece of plastic. The patient usually likes black plastic. I like clear plastic. Why do you think I like clear plastic? What? I can see what's going on. That's right. I like seeing what's going on. But because when you're like this, they don't have much clothes on. Maybe their underwear. So there's not a lot on there. And so, but I like looking. What's going on with the skin? What's the skin look like? So you can, but most patients don't like you seeing them without much on. And so the black plastic sometimes. And the plastic works well. Is that not a simple sauna? That's a very simple sauna you can use. And so you can, you can have more, well, obviously not that one. But you can buy these guys. You can go and buy those at relatively inexpensive, less than $100 usually. And you can use that from, an old pawn shop or whatever, or off eBay or something, used. That works very well. And we've used those for years in places. But this is more mobile, so you can go to somebody's house and do a treatment at their house. And or more if you're doing mission work. You can do this kind of thing. All right, thanks, sir.
What's the duration of the...
Okay, good question. So you can do, is this mine? Okay, thank you. So what I like revulsive. I like hot, cold, hot, cold. So what we would do is we'd put a person in a shower to start with, hot water. Then I'd put them in that for 18 minutes. Then I would put them back in a hot shower for maybe a minute, and then I'd turn it on as cold as possible. Not plumb cold, but maybe around 70 degrees, something like that, for about a minute. Then I put them back, so it was 18 minutes. Then I go about 12 minutes back in the shower. As you keep putting them in the shower, I go hot for about a minute or two, then I turn it down cold. The more times you do it, the colder you can go. Their body starts to get used to it. So I'll go, say around 18 minutes, around 12 minutes. Then I'll finish with about 8 minutes, and then I'll put them back in the shower, and then I go plumb cold. Plumb cold. And who's heard of Dr. Schultz?
Yes.
Okay. Schultz says if they ain't screaming, they ain't cold enough. Yep. Be careful, though. If they're a cardiac, don't go below 80. I've seen a cardiac going down, or actually prior to me getting there, I heard of it. It was at the clinic I went to. Prior to I went there, one of the staff therapists put a patient in, just went plumb cold and they were cardiac. They went into significant angina. They took them to the hospital. Yeah. Yes, sir. It can, yeah. You can get in a hot tub, stay in there, and then go get in a cold shower, then go back in the hot tub, go back in a cold shower. I would get patients from Russia, and they would tell me that they would have saunas that they go in, not like this, but go into. And then they said, help me out what they were doing. Yeah, they'd roll around in the snow. But tell me what they were doing with this. They said they would take a willow branch. They'd whoop themselves. Why did they whoop themselves? Circulation? Yeah. Really? turn it on though.
Yeah. Oh. I think it's her turn.
So, so I was in college. I only did it once. You know, the first time's maybe not your fault. Second time, it's your fault. And we would get in the sauna and turn it as high as we could, and then we there's a bathtub there, and we pour ice in it. We put ice in it, and then go jump in it and see how long we can stay underneath. That's crazy. I'm surprised we didn't die. Pardon? Yeah, that's crazy. But you just do stupid stuff in college. So when you do the sauna, the back and forth, the back and forth, the back and forth, then go and you want to then, again, take that rest afterwards. And Dr. Thomas recommended that at least 20, 30 minutes, but 2 hours would be better.
Was the sauna cycling then 3 times?
We did 3 times in the sauna. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, that's just the numbers we chose, but we did it 3 times. You could do it longer. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Don't do it after extraneous exercise or after you eat. Yes, good point. We also, research showed that morning hydrotherapy was more therapeutic than afternoon and night hydrotherapy. And I don't know the science behind that, but I know I've read that in research that morning hydrotherapy is better. But the way our schedule was, we did afternoon hydrotherapy, and a lot of people can't do it till they get home at night. So it just depends on what you're able to do. But thank you for bringing that. Very important.
Is there a difference in the benefit behind a steam sauna as opposed to a dry?
Yes, there is. We can get the temperature up higher on a dry sauna than we can on a steam sauna. Yeah, that's what we found. Now, yes.
Any risk to the respiratory system or temperature constraints if you're going to be surrounded with hot steam or air? Can you damage your nose respiration?
It would be person specific. If that person, it is not a cookie cutter. Everybody's different. Doing PT, you monitor what the patient can tolerate, and you do it. You don't say, well, we've got to walk this long. She's watching their O2 status. She's walking. She's watching, a lot of things, and so it's whatever that person can tolerate. And so if that person doesn't, an example, let's say that a fever treatment. You need to do it for 30 minutes with a temperature between 102 and 103. I have a friend that he was preaching a evangelist. Oh, it was actually a camp meeting, and someone brought someone to him that they said was dying with cancer. They were staying in tents, and they just left. They couldn't leave him at home. He was dying, and so they brought him to the camp meeting. He was just laying on a sleeping bag. He said, "Let's do some hydrotherapy." And so he did a fever treatment, what we're going to talk about in a minute. And the man could only tolerate 5 minutes. And you don't say, well, Walt said you need to do it 30 minutes. No, what can the patient tolerate? The patient can only tolerate it for 5 minutes. For me, if I do not take B-complex prior to a fever treatment, I can't tolerate it. Remember I said I had Tourette's? My body can't handle it. I go nuts. And so everybody's different. And so as long as I keep my B-complex going and magnesium and get my sleep and drink water, I do pretty good. I've only shucked in front of y'all once, and y'all may not have seen that. But I do pretty good. Watch what the person can tolerate. And so if they can't tolerate much, that's all they do. So what this guy did, he did it for 5 minutes. Next day, he was able to do more. People went home, started doing fever treatments at the home. The man lived. God bless those fever treatments are powerful. Fever treatments increase the white cell count 7-fold. I didn't believe it. Thomas said 7-fold. So what did I do? I had my nurses draw the labs. And we did we were doing fever treatments. And so I raised some money for some labs, and we started doing labs on our patients that we were doing fever treatments on. And I drew the labs before the treatment, at the end of the treatment. Actually, white count goes down after the treatment. And then we poured ice water down the back of their neck, and it went up higher than what we started at. And we then tested it. We drew blood every 30 minutes for 6 hours. Fortunately, we peaked out at 5, and it stayed the same at 5.5 and at 6. I don't know what it did past that. That's just the funding I had to do. But we went up consistently, every single patient, 7-fold. Exactly what Thomas said at Loma Linda. That's amazing. It really is. But you only do what the patient can tolerate. Okay, here's a fever treatment they're doing somebody. That's a really small tub, but it's a high tub, so you can. That's the problem with doing fever treatments at home bathtubs. You've got your long tubs. Let's see here. Anybody want to guess what that is?
Fire hoses.
What do you think, guys? Pardon? That's the first douches. They look like guns, don't they? Yeah. But let me find a. Okay, say. Hang on. There we go. So on this one, she's got her knee up. She probably doesn't need her knee up. This is a big tub. You're able to get that patient in the water, get the knee down. She just has her knee up. It should be down underneath the water. And then you got them here. But what if you got a small bathtub at the house? What do? You can either have them sit up, have their legs flat, put towels on their chest, and keep pouring hot. I prefer to have them down, neck in the water, knees up out of the water, and then put a towel on it and keep putting hot on the towel. Because you work with what you got. And, we had big tubs like this to where, she just happens to have her knee up. Normally it shouldn't be up.
Maybe she kept sliding down.
Maybe. Okay, so here's a short tub, and so you've got cold to the head, they've got them in the water, and they're doing the hydrotherapy. So when you do a fever treatment, what you do in a fever treatment, you want to have your tools together. You need a hand towel, you need a basin of ice water, you need water for them to sip on. Tell them to go to the bathroom first. But if the patient needed to urinate, our therapist would just say, urinate in the tub. We're going to shower afterwards anyway. But try to get them to, and they're only taking sips. You don't want them drinking a lot because you don't want free flow, and you don't want to have a problem in the tub. But you don't want them getting out of the tub. And so we just have them just go ahead and urinate in the tub. And then they took a shower anyway and cleaned off, and it worked fine. Also, I like putting a person in a gown, not a bathing suit. You can have them, if it's a spouse and don't have nothing on. But I don't like underwear because at the end of the treatment, they've got to take the underwear off. And they might be a little woozy because you've got constriction here, vasal. When they get up, it is not uncommon that they're woozy. And you don't want them falling. So we'd have them, so I had my therapist start using gait belts on them. Y'all know what gait belts? It's a belt that goes around here and it hooks and you can hang on to them. And we had to walk them back to their room and put them in bed for 2 hours. Well, one of my therapists from Venezuela, you learn a lot from your folks. She said, I wonder what if I take that bucket of ice water, before they get up, start letting the water out, have them lean forward and pour it down the back of their neck and down their back. Boom, it worked. We never had them having problems with that wooziness anymore. Worked great. And so we started doing that. Worked excellent. When a person does a fever treatment, also, it's not uncommon to see the O2 sat drop into 93, 92. Is that a problem? That's not low. Some clinics will put a nasal cannula on them, run, say a couple liters of oxygen on them to keep that O2 sat on. You don't have to do that. Just every time you're changing that headband with ice water, just have them take a few deep breaths. And that will keep them good and oxygenated, and it worked well. Don't hyperventilate, but just take some nice deep breaths. Check their pulse every 5 minutes. If they start getting tachycardia, what do? Put ice on their chest. If a patient's getting tachy, put ice on the chest, boom, pulse comes down. If check their blood pressure every 5 minutes. If blood pressure gets up, what do? Stop treatment. There's no need, that's all you can do today. And so you do this, so you put them in the water's between 105 and 106 degrees. And the desired temperature is 102 to 104. If the temperature goes over 104, do they really have a temperature? No. So what do? Add a little cold water in there. Temperature's going to come down. It's kind of like a double boiler. So if you're up 105, 106, just put a little cold water, temperature's going to come back down. And so you regulate that temperature with the temperature of the water.
So you want the patient to be 102 to 104?
Oral temp, 102 to 104.
You want the water to be
105, 107.
Okay.
There are treatments out there, protocols, that get the oral temperature up to 107. You need medical assistance with that. That is a treatment that's done at UCI that Dr. Thrash would do, and she would treat various certain specific. It's good on gonorrhea, syphilis. She used it on Lyme disease, and at that high temp. But you need somebody there that has some knowledge to do that one. But on this one, it's not a problem.
How long are they?
30 minutes is the goal. 30 minutes is the goal. And then when you're finished, you pour the ice water down the back of the neck, have them stand up, you can shower off, and here's where you drop the gown, hospital gown, put another gown on them. It's real simple. Just drop it, put another gown on, dry off, put another gown on, and go to the bed and sleep for 2 hours. Now, you want to learn something cool? This is really neat. So you take your mom's sauna, or her far infrared, do a sauna. Now, I don't have the ability to draw labs like this on this kind of thing now, but I have a hypothesis. What causes the white count to go up 7-fold?
God does.
Okay. But in this treatment, what is going on that causes the white count to go to 7-fold? The body temperature. The body temperature of 102 to 104. So, in a far infrared sauna, far infrared saunas work very well because it takes the water molecule and changes it in the blood where you have better perfusion. Blood flow, that's what you're after. Blood flow, blood flow, blood flow. Circulation, perfect circulation. Circulation, circulation, circulation. Always remember that. That's what you're after. So the sauna, you can put them in a far infrared sauna, which kind of looks kind of like this, if you've ever seen one. Head sticking out, put a towel around it, put something. Now, when you normally do a sauna on far infrared, your goal is about 20 minutes. Now, if it's a cardiac patient, so when Mary Lou's heart function was down to a 10-15, her ejection fraction, I called a buddy of mine, and I said, he's internal medicine, and he uses far infrared. He's got 2 saunas, 4 lights in his office, and he does a lot of far infrared treatments on his patients. I said, what do you think about me doing far infrared on Mary Lou? I've got poor perfusion. We're only doing 10-15%. I need to increase that perfusion. Far infrared increases perfusion. He said, it would be good. Just don't make the heart too hot. Okay. So then I started doing some research, and I found a doctor who said, yes, that's a good thing. So what you do is as the patient gets hot, you zip down. You're still getting the far infrared light, but you're keeping the temperature down. Zip back up when you cool off, zip back down. And Mary Lou would sit in there for hours. It would increase perfusion. She said she felt so much better in this far infrared sauna with this low heart function. But let's say you're doing a 20-minute, but you want to go longer. Saunas can go, they're perfectly safe to go longer. Just monitor the patient's vitals. I can get their oral temp up somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes. I can get their oral temp up to 102. So if it's safe to go an hour, which it is, and I can now go, once I get the oral temp up to 102, and I can keep them in there 30 minutes, what did I just do? I did the same as a fever treatment. It's a fever treatment I just did. And so you don't have to have the water. Why is this good? One, you get dual benefits of the fever treatment and the far infrared benefit. But what do you do for patients that can't get down in a bathtub? You don't do fever treatments. But now I can. I can get them to sit in there, and now I can do a fever treatment on that person. No, I haven't done labs to verify, but it only makes horse sense.
What are some of the conditions you're doing the fever treatment on?
Cancer. Could be a person that's just, they're sick. They've got a cold, the flu. Let's say you have a person that you can't get their temperature down. You can do a fever treatment on them, get that temperature up, and come out, and the temperature comes back down. You use it. We've used it for Parkinson's. We've used it for MS. We've used it for if that person tolerates heat well. We've used it for mostly cancer. Use it a lot for cancer. What else? Lyme disease. Yeah. Best thing I found for Lyme, my youngest son had Lyme. We treated him for 11 years, couldn't get rid of it. And I mean, it was bad. 18 years old, he's a firefighter, and he couldn't run from here to the wall without falling down, crying. An 18-year-old boy crying because of the pain in his heart and in his legs. And so I called England and I said, is there any research on Alimed work for Lyme disease? And they said, yes. I said, send it to me, let me read it. And I looked at it, and so we did 1 teaspoon twice a day for 3 months, went away. Came back 6 months later. We did another month, and this March will be 11 years, I think. Yeah, it'll be 11 years this March. No symptoms, period. No symptoms of Lyme. Yeah, Alimed just wiped it right out. Yeah.
What did you start out with?
I did 1 teaspoon twice a day. Yeah.
I was watching Agatha Threat many years ago. She was talking about Lyme disease. She said the reason it goes into remission from the drug is because the drugs didn't go past the blood-brain barrier. And then she used elevated baths to get the temperature up here high enough, and then it killed all the disease.
Yeah, she'd take them up to around 107 degrees, maybe 100, at least 107, maybe 108 for Lyme. And they also did 2-hour treatments at UCI, where they'd leave them at high temps for 2 hours. But again, it's under medical supervision when that's done. So that's the fever treatment. Here's the douche. Can you see it there on the left? It's here the patient is in this shower, and they're shooting water plumb across the room like that. That's the old treatment rooms. Looks like something they do in Germany. What we do today is we've got our hoses, and we're right up there next to the. We're probably as far as me and you. We're doing that patient down. Yeah. There's another one. I like the douche for. And my range of motion is not as good as normal right now. But I won't have anybody help me on this one. What you do is you take a potty chair. Y'all know what a bedside toilet is? Thanks, sir. I did good yesterday afternoon. I'm just having problems today. Okay. It will be resolved in 2 weeks. Okay. So you get a patient with an external hemorrhoid. So you take the potty chair, you take the bucket out. And what you do, face them that way. Again, men on men, women on women, unless it's husband and spouse. You get them down, and you take your garden hose. your douche. And you get down here, and when they sit down, that hemorrhoid will drop down lower. And you take that, don't put it too high pressure. It's going to be painful. Do it what they can tolerate. You know, you got to use, some people don't have a lick of common sense, so sometimes you have to say, be careful. And you take that pressure to what they can tolerate with hot, and you massage that hemorrhoid with the hot water for 3 minutes. Then you turn it down to cold. Massage it for 1 minute. And you just go back and forth using the douche to massage that hemorrhoid. It works extremely well, increasing circulation to help with healing of that hemorrhoid. Works very well. Also, I'll use cabbage. I had this poor guy. He came over from England, and you know the guy. And he comes over from England, and he actually came to work for us afterwards. He was so impressed. He had external hemorrhoids. They couldn't fix them. So he flew over, and so we were doing that, and we were doing cabbage poultices. Don't make the mistake I made. One night we ran out of green cabbages, and we had only red cabbage. Well, I didn't want to drive into orange, so I got the red cabbage. And I pull it out, and you make it bleed. And I gave it to him, said, okay, go ahead and put it on. That poor fella, he stained the carpet, the bed, his clothing, ruined a bunch of stuff that night. I should have gone in town and got the green one. Don't use red cabbages on a cabbage poultice. But he did very well, and he was so impressed he ended up saying, come to work for us. Yeah. That's another way of using the douche. Now this is another one where they're using the therapy, the water therapy here. And why do they have those canvases across the top of them? Keep the warmth in. Yeah, keep the warmth in. Yeah. I don't see any water where it got. It looks like possibly they had to pour that water in there. And so they couldn't just go and, like when you're doing a fever treatment and that water starts to get kind of cool, you need to you need to turn the hot water on again. Couldn't do that there. So they want to keep it as long as possible. That's Life magazine. Here's the United States Navy doing a fever treatment on a guy. Now notice what they did here. They bundled them up. Same thing what Dr. Thomas talked about. And you want to do that. But what could happen here? What's the danger here? Fall out. They wake up. Those nurses aren't there. See, the nurses are staying there to watch them. And you try to get up, fall out, break a hip. Those are small beds. So you got to take care of your patient. Again, the fever bath. And then why it works. We don't have time to get into all that. Treatments used for poor circulation, pain, muscle stiffness, general fatigue, congestive internal organs, colds, flus, persistent cough, eczema, psoriasis, cancer, malaria, low immunity, Lyme disease, arthritis, and other autoimmune diseases. Just a bunch of things you can use fever treatment for. Do not use when the person is aged, frail, if they're experiencing dizziness, exhaustion, dehydration, and that goes back to what you said about doing it right after exercising. If they're dehydrated, ischemia, extremely high blood pressure, just don't do it. If they've had a heart attack recently, tachycardia, that's a high pulse. If they start getting tachy during the treatment, try putting the ice on. If that doesn't work, then you can take them out. And I learned the ice from years ago when I was in EMT school. I had a paramedic teaching, and he said when he was a paramedic down in Florida, he had a patient that was real tacky, and they were on the way to the hospital running hot, and the patient was just high pulse. And back in those days, we didn't have radios. Well, they had radios, but one like this. You had this phone, you dialed the number of the hospital, and then he's talking to the hospital. And the ER doc said, stop at a convenience store and grab some ice and put it on his chest. So he whipped into a 7-Eleven, jumped out, grabbed a bag of ice, jumped back in, threw it on the guy's chest, went on to the hospital, and his tachycardia came right down. It worked good. Things to be careful of: do not try to treat yourself. Absolutely. Do not do a fever treatment on yourself. Do not do it. You're in water. You might fall asleep. Don't drown. You must have an able-bodied assistant. Watch for signs of fainting. If the patient becomes faint, quickly end the treatment and move the patient so that they are lying flat with the feet elevated above the head. Watch for signs of tetania. If symptoms of muscle cramping appear, have the patient breathe into a paper bag until symptoms disappear, then end the treatment. These are protocols out of UCI. That's where I got them, from one of the staff from UCI. Be sure to keep the head cooled with a cold, damp cloth. And you do that about every 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And at that time, you're also checking the pulse and also checking the blood pressure. The patient must be hydrated before the treatment and as well as throughout the treatment. And so they just kind of sip on the water, also during about every 5 minutes. Use caution when transferring the patient from the tub to the bed. Watch for faintness, and we talked about that. Supplies: need a couple flat sheets, a blanket, a shower curtain, or other large plastic sheeting to cover the bed. This is for when you put the patient to bed. A gown or other covering to wear in the bathtub. Swimsuit is difficult to get off after the treatment, as the patient will feel weak and tired. And that's what I found. And so I had the staff quit using swimsuits and just use a hospital gown at work. Much, much better. Supplies: here's the supplies for the fever treatment. Salt glow. Has anybody ever done a salt glow? Okay, salt glows are really good. I'd have these ladies come in from New York City, and I'd ask them the first day. You have all kinds of questions to ask them, and you'd ask them, do they perspire and sweat? Do you sweat? No, ladies do not perspire. Okay, so they go from their highfalutin apartment to their highfalutin car to their highfalutin stores to the highfalutin cars to the highfalutin restaurants. They never got out and sweated. They said, ladies do not perspire. These ladies wouldn't sweat when we do treatments on them. So what our staff had to do is they would do a salt glow. You can put salt in your hand with a little water, Epsom salt, or just, it's an abrasive is what you're after. And they're doing this over themselves. And what you do is you allow the patient to do what they can cover themselves, and then what they can't get to, you get it for them. The therapist does. And then before we do the hydrotherapy in the shower. On average, it'd take about 5 days to open up those pores on them women. We got them sweating, but it took about that long. They were so clogged up because they never sweated. Sweating is very important. Do you have kinfolk who they might have eaten hog jowl and chitlin and who knows what, and they lived 100 years old? Because they sweated. They were farmers, and they sweated those toxins out. People don't sweat no more. They go they go into work, they go home, they don't exercise, air condition, they don't sweat. Sweating is very important to get rid of toxins. And so salt glows open back up so that we can get folks sweating again.
Like Epsom salts all over your skin?
Yeah. Now, there's some precautions, and we'll talk about them here. Why it works: the friction of the salt crystals on the skin stimulates the blood vessels to dilate and remove dead skin cells. So you actually can clean dead off. A lot of women do this for just cleaning their skin. Pores are open to receive healing herbal remedies or to excrete toxins more readily. The salt glow also stimulates the nervous system and produces a calming and invigorating effect. Treatments can be used for epilepsy, general tonic, chronic illness of any kind, stimulates the muscles and nerves or skin, increases Can you see how that increases circulation? Sure. Although it is to stimulate, it also can calm the nerves. Cancer and other debilitating diseases. Substance withdrawal, edema, and cleansing. Have y'all ever helped people quit smoking? And they usually have withdrawals. Kicks in about day 3. Families start saying, please smoke again because you're mean as a striped snake. I can't get along with you. That's normal. But what I found was, when I would do the sauna, the shower, 2 things happened. One, we used white towels so we could clean them. And what color do you think those towels were? Yellow. The toxins coming out. And what else do you think happened? We never had withdrawals on people who did that. Isn't that interesting? And I started doing stop smoking programs in 78. And I've done classes of 50, 60, 70 people at a time. And for years. And they all were experiencing, at some point, symptoms. When we do the hydrotherapy, never did they have the symptoms. It's quite interesting. Do not use when the patient cannot stand or sit. Rashes are open, weeping lesions or wounds. That's pretty smart. Now this is the one, ladies, you got to be careful with. Don't light that lady up. If she just shaved, do not do a salt glow. Do not put peppermint essential oil on her. Things to be careful of. Do not use essential oils of peppermint in the wintertime as it can chill the patient. Be careful not to use too much pressure. It may irritate the skin. Isn't it terrible you got to say this? But some people just don't have any horse sense. May dry out the skin. Use oils. Using oils or lotion after the treatment can resolve this problem, and that's true. There are some people that are dehydrated, have dry skins, and that can help. These are some supplies. Fine or medium grade salt. 50-50 mix of sodium chloride and Epsom salt is a good combination. Essential oil of choice is optional. Quart-sized dish for the salt. Bathroom tub or shower. 2 towels. Stool for any patients who need to sit during the treatment. Cold mitten friction, and that's what we did earlier. Now you can do a cold mitten friction.
Can I ask a question about the
Yes.
salt? So you're just rubbing them with salt, basically? And then I've seen these I've heard about salt rooms where people go into these rooms that are just filled with salt.
That's where they're breathing that stuff.
Yeah, and they just sit there.
That's different.
Is that healthy? Is that
It is said that it is. I haven't read any research on it, but it is said that they put lights. Do you have experience on that?
Hang on.
Thank you. We have them actually in a city where you can just go in and the salt water drops down.
Yes.
And it's very good for lung diseases.
Excellent.
Like bronchitis,
Okay.
you could say.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really
Good. I've seen people have places and people pay to go in these salt rooms and breathe it and whatever. Pardon? Is there? Okay, but it's something that works. Excellent. Good. So when you're doing the salt glow, you're just exfoliating the skin. That's what you're doing.
It also said to use an essential oil. Do you just put it in the salt?
You can. Most people don't, but some people do. You know how y'all ladies got all kinds of stuff to buy. And you know how they have these little salt things that you can do for cleaning the face, and it's what it is. Yeah, that's all it is. And so you can use just plain old salt, or like those, what they said there, or Epsom salt or something. Just, again, you don't want it too coarse that you're taking the skin off or causing harm. Yeah. Cold mitten friction. So a cold mitten friction can be like we did on his back and on his chest. You can also do a cold mitten friction on limbs. And what you do, let's say you take this here, and you take any y'all ladies seamstress? You sew? Okay, so what you do is you take this guy right here, and you cut it like this, kind of round. And then you take and sew it with the sewing machine across here, and down here, then you turn it inside out. And you have what's on her hand. It's a mitten. Works really good. And so you can take, and you can even use that for a salt glow. or you can do it for just ice water, and you're rubbing the, which is cold ice water, you're rubbing those extremities, the arms, the legs, the body, and it's just called a cold mitten friction. The cold and the friction, increasing that circulation. Cold mitten frictions restores tone to the blood vessels and muscles. The primary effect of cold is to drive the blood away from the surface to keep the body temperature normal. Cold mitten friction will increase the muscular, glandular, and metabolic activities of internal organs and stimulate immune system activity. The results of this treatment is a healthy, rooty glow to the skin and the inclination to breathe more deeply. What it can be used for: hepatitis, anemia, tuberculosis, pneumonia, poor circulation, colds, influenza, bronchitis, upper respiratory tract infections, headaches, fatigue, fevers. Can be used beneficially for almost any ailment and following the any healing treatment. It's just a great treatment to use on somebody. Touching people is important. Our therapists who touched their patients for massage, hydrotherapy, those are the people that had the most effective connection with that person spiritually. They trusted them. They touched their body. They took care of them. The challenge today is touching people. Again, men on men, women on women. Though some fellas don't like men touching them. It's true. It's just how we are. Y'all ladies, y'all don't have no problem with it. Guys do. This is an interesting statistic. I'm flying from Chicago to Toronto. Knoxville to Chicago, Chicago to Toronto, Toronto on to Vancouver. And this guy sit by him. He's a trauma physician from St. Louis. He sits by me in Chicago to Toronto. So we're having this discussion about trauma stuff, and I said, so tell me, what's your opinion on CPR and not teaching the lay people to do ventilations? He said, it's a good idea because we get more CPR done. Because people are going to say, I ain't putting my lips on that, and they just keep walking. And so they don't do CPR. He said it's not a problem because they can start the compressions and then the ambulance will be there in 3 to 4 minutes. It might be true in the city, but is it true to where you live? No, it's not true where I live either. And so he said, and so many studies are only done in metropolitan areas. They're not done out in the sticks. So he said, we will get more people to do CPR if we just have them do compressions. Ambulance will be there in 3 to 4 minutes to start oxygen. I said, but what if we're out in the country? He just had no idea. He's a city slicker. He had no idea. He said, but let me share some interesting statistics with you. He said in St. Louis, you and I have a greater success of having a heart attack on the street than a female does in living. I said, why? He said, the Me Too movement. He said, a man ain't going to go touch her. Isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? It didn't even cross my mind working in healthcare. It doesn't even cross our mind. We take care of males, females, whatever in regular healthcare, though it's best male, female, male, male, female, female. So as we look at touching whatever, Christ touched people. Touching is healing. It really is. Because we've gotten so perverted out there, it's causing problems.
And with COVID, social distancing.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's touching anybody.
That's right.
Nobody's to buy anybody.
Exactly. Satan's working hard, isn't he?
Yeah.
He really is. Yeah. So when you go ahead.
Is that to be done just
No.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Chest,
Well,
everything, whole body.
not to the growing area, but
Yeah. Okay.
yes. And I wouldn't do it to the face either.
How long?
You can do it for a couple minutes. I mean, I would do it, say, if I'm doing a limb, I would do it for maybe 3-4 minutes. You know, monitor. What can the skin tolerate? What can the patient tolerate? Yeah. Do not use when fractured limbs. Again, this is just horse sense, y'all. If someone's got a broken limb, you don't do it to the broken limb. Malignant tumors, chilliness, or cyanosis. That's where you don't have adequate circulation. Things to be careful of. Be careful if someone is ticklish. Like a few minutes ago, he said, be careful, he's ticklish. That you either pat the area or just press a cloth, cold cloth firmly to that area instead of using friction if a person is just super ticklish. Here's your supplies. Cold water, 50 to 60 degrees. An ice massage. You've done ice massages, haven't you? Yeah, it's a PT thing. Who else has done ice massages? Okay, so you take a cup, pretend this is a cup, paper cup, styrofoam cup. I like paper cup. It's less messy. And you take it and you fill it with water and put it in the freezer. And you freeze it. And then you tear down about 1 inch. Now you got you a handle. And you can circular motion wherever that area. What did you use it for? Shoulders, knees?
I think necks and backs.
Mm-hmm.
Pain.
It's for pain. Yeah, it works great for pain. And so, how long did you do it till?
Can't remember. It's been a long time since we've done it.
It's going to start kind of tingling, burning, stinging, and then go numb. Once it goes numb, stop. You got the benefit. Pain's over. Now, y'all know I like a little humor. And Dr. Agatha, she liked humor. We got along good because of that. So I took a class from her in suturing and out in the wild. And she says, just get you a sewing needle. Get you some thread and boil them. And so you get your needle and your thread ready. She said, if you've got regular surgical needle, that's nice. But she says, not everybody has access to that. Just get you a little needle and get you some thread. And she said, sterilize it, boil it, and you're fine. And she says, then what you do is you take and you do an ice massage. And just kind of, put ice on that area. Not plumb on top, but on each side of the area that you're going to suture. Say here. For 4 minutes. She said 4 minutes of ice will give you 4 minutes of suturing. Pain-free. Start complaining of pain again, stop. You got time. Do some ice again. 4 minutes, you got 4 more minutes of suturing. She says it works great. If it doesn't, just use 4 strong men. We had fun. So that's what ice massage is. It works good. I use it for shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain. It works. And see, that's a styrofoam cup. But see how the ice is showing? Oh, one more thing I failed to mention. Put water on the ice. It's dry. It doesn't move good. But put water on it, and that'll get it going. And then when you're done, just stick it back in the freezer, and you can get it back out and use it again. You can do that on yourself if you can reach it. The first response of the body is to constrict of arterioles and venules. Blood flow to the area decreases, and the body attempts to conserve heat. After a time, the skin starts to glow with a ruddy red color as the blood vessels dilate in an attempt to keep the body warm. The cold decreases inflammation, edema, muscle pain, and spasms. Used for muscle and joint strains, acute and chronic low back pain, rheumatoid arthritis. Depending on the patient, warm application may be better. Again, see what the patient can deal with. Patients with back pain. Some patients do good on cold. Some patients do good on hot. Don't just use cold because you learned cold. Find out what the patient does well.
If you're dealing with a muscle strain and you do ice massage, is there benefit of
stretching that muscle afterwards?
That would make sense. Most muscle pain, 75% of muscle pain, according to research, 75% of muscle pain is due to magnesium deficiency. Why? Because we're stressed all the time. That dumps magnesium, as we talked about yesterday. Lack of magnesium can cause muscle pain, muscle cramps. Number 2 is dehydration. Number 3 is potassium. Number 4 is iron. We talked about those. So, yes, you want to treat it, but then also just don't keep treating the pain. See if you can figure out the cause and fix that all. So stretching that patient may work well. You will find better stretching after which? Cold or hot? The hot, exactly.
Yeah, in a football training room situation, a lot of people had hamstring injuries. So, a lot of people would have hamstring injuries in, say, football camps, and they would tell us after ice massage to stretch that affected area, and that was the worst thing.
Yes.
Because after you've had that ice on there for 15, 20 minutes, to try to stretch that, it doesn't feel good at all.
No.
And I always wondered if that was really beneficial or not.
I would say it is. Now, here's a key that you just said. Now, would it feel better with hot? But why didn't they do hot? Well, no. Because soon after an injury, if you use hot, it causes more swelling. Yeah, exactly. So it used to be the first 24 hours you just use cold. Now orthopods now say, they then said, no, you got to go 48. Now orthopods are telling me, nah, you're fine, go back to the 24. So when you're doing hydrotherapy on, say, a sprained ankle or an injury like that, cold for the first at least 24, maybe 48, and then you can then start doing your alternating. And that's exactly what they were doing. They weren't using the hot. Even though you could have stretched it better, you would have caused more edema to the area. Yeah. Yes?
Could you just repeat, you said 75% of muscle pain is caused by lack of potassium?
Magnesium. Number 1. Dehydration, number 2. Potassium, number 3. Iron, number 4. But we are seeing more and more issues of iron coming into the ERs, iron deficiency, when they're checking the labs, and iron deficiency is causing the, so I don't know if that's just in my area or not, but that's what the ER doc friends of mine are telling me. You're welcome. Let's see here. Osteoarthritis, again, depending on if the heat or cold works better for them, stimulates the local circulation, stimulation of local circulation, overheated patients. Do not use when chilled. Aversion to or sensitivity to cold, such as like fibromyalgia, or who's another patient you think of you wouldn't use it on their hands? What? Raynaud's. That's right. Raynaud's disease. You see ladies in the summertime wearing gloves. You know what works good for Raynaud's? It's a circulation issue, and so you want to increase vasodilation. And so ladies are using yohimbe. Yohimbe. Yohimbe is an herb. Men use it for ED to increase circulation. Women use it for Raynaud's. Yohimbe, Yohembie, maybe? Y'all spell better than I do. Wounds, again, that's just horse sense. Don't use it on wound. Stay away from the wound. Be careful on elderly and small children. Why do you not do some of these treatments, like you don't do a mustard plaster on a small child? You don't do the ice. Why? Pardon?
Their skin is sensitive.
Okay. Always watch a child can decompensate so fast compared to an adult. When you're doing emergency care and you're watching, you're checking, your vitals and carrying that patient in, and adult, they kind of trend down. Now, adult can drop, but a child can be doing well and they'll drop fast. A big part of that is a child, let's say a 1-year-old, a little child, they can't communicate. Like an adult can say, that's hurting. And especially like the mustard plaster. Mustard plasters can burn you. And we don't know HUs on mustard like we do on cayenne. And so a mustard plaster. To make a mustard plaster, you do 1 part mustard powder, 3 parts flour. Better to use whole wheat flour. White flour is more sticky. It's more messy. But also, you shouldn't have white flour in the house anyway. And then you mix it together. And then you add enough water to it to make the consistency of biscuit dough. Then you put it out on a piece of saran wrap, put another piece of saran wrap, roll it out 1/8 of an inch thick. Pull the top off and apply it to the area. When you apply it, usually Kellogg said 10 minutes. You have people saying today 20 minutes. Kellogg in his writings only said 10 minutes because it can be hot. If you've only had it on for 2 minutes and the patient says, that's hot, take it off because it can scar. It can blister and then scar. And so you don't know the HU. It could be a really hot batch and you just don't know it. The cool thing about a mustard plaster and a castor oil pack is you can use them multiple times. And where a charcoal poultice you only use once because you're adsorbing. You're not absorbing, you're adsorbing. You're adsorbing the toxins. So you throw that away. But what you're doing with the mustard plaster is you're bringing circulation to the area. And so you can use it 5-6 times, put it back in, put that saran wrap back on, roll it up, put it in the refrigerator, and then you warm it up a little bit, and then put it back on the patient. You can use it multiple times. Hot foot bath. Now, hot foot bath, that is the basic hydrotherapy, yes? I mean, everybody can do that one. That's simple. I've gone and taught, kids before. I still teach in the school system, but I used to go, when I had more time, I used to go to our schools, and I would do, and for homeschool groups, I would teach for a whole week medical missionary work, and we would teach kindergartners up to senior in high school, and we could teach kindergartner. These little kids, they can do hot foot bath, could they not? Yeah, I mean, one lady came in one morning, it was during the class, and she came in and said, I picked the kids up last night, and I had a terrible, terrible migraine. And my little kid, it was like a kindergartner, went and did a hot foot bath, an ice pack to the head, just like we taught her that day. And Mom says, it went away. Like, that's what you sent her here for. And so let me share how to do it. Can you come help me again? So let's say you have a person who has a migraine headache. Have a seat. I was in, where was I? Bermuda. And so there's evangelistic series, and I was doing the health component of it. And the preacher quit preaching, and we were all walking out. And I noticed this lady, I'd talked to her before. Her head was in her lap. It was a big old room. And her head was in her lap, in her face. Or down, in her face, in her lap. And that's not normal. So I walked over and said, you okay? She says, I got a migraine. I cannot move. And I left my meds at home. So I asked 2 ladies. I said, can you go get me a bucket of hot water, and can you go get me a bucket of ice water with 2 washcloths? And they did. So what happened was one lady went and took the hot water, and again, what did she do first?
Prayed.
She prayed. And then she lifted the feet. Didn't say just stick your feet in there. She put it here and gently put them in there in the hot water. And then the other lady took the ice pack or ice washcloths and put one on the forehead, if you can hold that in your forehead, and then put the other one. Is that okay if I use these? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. And the other one she held it like this, and then kept changing them about every 3 to 5 minutes. And the other lady kept making sure that was good and hot. Literally in 20 minutes, right, 20 minutes, the lady goes, it's gone. It's good. I can go home. Thank you. I was in, okay, thank you, ma'am. I was in, where was I? Sacramento with ASI, and we were doing an evangelistic series. It was at Doug Batchelor's church. at Sac Central when he used to be at Sac Central. This guy comes in, and he said, he's getting ready to come into the meeting. He goes, I got a terrible, terrible headache and migraine. It's just bad. I said, well, come on back. We went back to the kitchen. And that's what we did. It took about 40 minutes. He said it was the worst migraine he'd ever had. But you know what? In 40 minutes, it was plumb gone. Amazing. Isn't God good? Yeah. Can you use that in telling the person God's the one doing the healing? Yeah. I went to a house. It was another evangelistic series, and it was in with ASI, and it was in Dallas. And I went out to give a Bible study to this lady, and she says, I can't do it today. My knees are hurting too bad. I got arthritis in my knees. Pain's too bad. And I said, do you have any cayenne pepper? She said, yes. I said, you got any lotion? She goes, yes. I said, do you mind if I make a salve for you and you put it on your knees? She says, yeah, it'd be fine. And what's the cayenne pepper sound like? Arthritis cream.
Oh, capsaicin.
Exactly. Okay. Right. So what I did is I put the cream, I put in the cayenne pepper, and just moved it around, put it in a little bowl and moved it with a spoon, and moved it around until it was kind of this pink in color, about the color of your top. And I checked it to the back of my hand, like checking bottle milk, and checked the back of my hand. And if it's not hot enough, what do you do? Yeah, if it's too hot, what do you do? There you go. Simple, isn't it? And so then I said, okay, rub these on your knees. And I prayed, and she put them on her knees, and we were just talking. And I don't remember how long it took. Not long. She says, it's not hurting bad no more. I said, God's good, isn't he? And I said, you reckon we can do that Bible study now? She goes, sure, we can do that Bible study. See how it works? See? I mean, example. If I have my arms behind my back and I need to go through this door, how do I get in? Well, I can be a bull in a china closet and bust it in. Or what could I do? And walk right in. See, the right hand is it's the right hand of the message. It's the medical missionary work. The body is the gospel. What's the important part? The hand or the body? The body, the gospel. That's the important stuff. But this opens a door to allows it to go in without being a bull in a china closet. Are sometimes people a bull in a china closet theologically? Yeah, they can be. And you just, I don't know, it's just being nice to people and sharing Christ.
You ever seen the statement from Ella White where she says you have 10 times more success if you preach the health message with the gospel than if you only preach the gospel?
I have. Isn't that cool?
That's an amazing statement. 10 times more success.
Now, okay, what field do you work in?
Electrical engineering.
How would you like to be 10 times more effective?
That'd be amazing.
Would you be marketable?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, but what if you were only what's normal and you're only 1/10 of effective? Are you marketable? Anybody want to hire you? God says you can be 10 times more effective spreading the gospel if you do this. Are we marketable if we don't? Wow, isn't that interesting? The responsibility we have to God. Here he said, you can be my worker, you can be 10 times at this level, but no, we say, no, I'm good here. It ain't going to work in corporate America. That's interesting. Okay. Okay, hot foot baths. Why? We all know about hot foot baths. Pardon? So if you look at hot foot baths are great little tools. If you want to go to sleep at night and you're having a problem calming down, just put your feet in hot water, get you some Epsom salt with it. Ladies, it's a nice little thing to do for your husband. Husbands, it's a nice thing to do for your wives. You just put the feet in there. You might even do a little rubbing on there. And is that nice? Yeah, it is. Touching again. Yes?
Just right before I prostate disorders. Somebody had told me that hydrotherapy was good for enlarged prostate. Is that true?
The fever treatment. Now, the best thing I like for enlarged prostate is saw palmetto. Correction, we used to do saw palmetto, pumpkin seed, and it's fair. The best thing I find for enlarged prostate is Podiarco, P-A-U, space, D apostrophe, then space, A-R-C-O. So it's P-A-U, space, D apostrophe, A-R-C-O, Podiarco. Podiarco is like Pac-Man. It loves eating cancer. It's usually the first cancer tea I use. It's great. Doesn't taste real bad. Who's used Chaparral? Anybody use Chaparral? Nasty, nasty. It is. It's really bad tasting. It's good for cancer, but don't start with it. They'll never use your tea again. So start with something easy. Podiarco, red clover. No, don't use red clover if you got hormone issues like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer. But you can use it on other cancers. But then like burdock root, calendula. There's plenty of herbs that are good for cancer tea. Asiac is a blend of herbs that the North American Indians had, and it works very, very well.
May I ask, are you suggesting how much per day they drink of Podiarco for the prostate?
Yes, I would do a quart of water, bring it to a boil, put 1/4 of a cup of the Podiarco, cut and sifted. You want to make a decoction because it's a bark for 20 minutes and drink on it throughout the day. Strain it, drink on it throughout the day. Now, there are those that have found that Podiarco used in long term does drop efficacy, just like your golden seal, your echinacea. So what you can do is you can pulse it with like black seed oil. Black seed oil. Use 1 teaspoon twice a day. Black seed oil is excellent for shrinking the prostate also. You can do it conjunction. Just drop it for 2 weeks. If it's a bad situation, I'll use it together. It works well. Now, I learned this also for prostate. Let's say you've got an enlarged prostate. When a guy has normal bowel movements, as the feces goes behind the prostate, it actually helps to milk the prostate. And so it's good to have normal bowel movements. You know, how many bowel movements should we have a day? As many meals as we eat a day. So if a guy's having 3-4 bowel movements a day, it's actually helping to milk his prostate. So what you do is you put on a glove, a rubber glove. And I had a guy who the Podiarco didn't work, the black seed oil didn't work, and he was just having some major issues. So I called down to a friend of mine down at UCI, and I said, help me out, because he's real good on prostate. What do I need to do? He said, you need to do a digital massage. So, not something that guys want to do. But anyway, so you put on a glove, putting on the glove thing. And so what you do is you go in approximately this deep into the rectum, feeling towards the front. And you'll feel it. It's about the size of a walnut. Now, what he said is, normal prostate should feel like this. But squeeze and enlarged prostate feels more like this. And what you do is you go in about this deep to where you feel the prostate. You're feeling towards the front, and you massage it side to side, not up and down, but back and forth, leg to leg, side to side. And you massage it for about 5 minutes. And do that about 4 times a day. It worked tremendously for this man. It's amazing. His PSA was, what's his PSA, 60, 70, something like that. He had no blood in the urine, and so we were good there. And what he did, he got to the point that he only had to do it once or twice a day. and it helped to keep that prostate down. It wasn't milking the prostate. Be cautious though. Anytime you milk the prostate, PSA is going to go up. So if you go in for a digital exam and then they draw your blood, your PSA could go up because the doctor just milked your prostate by feeling in there. Not as much as what you just did by doing a 5-minute massage, but milking the prostate can increase significantly milking it can increase prostate PSA. The far infrared that your mom has. My buddy, Dr. George Kim, he had a guy come in. He had a PSA of 70, 80, something like that, also really high. And in 2 weeks, he had him down to a 30-something by just using the far infrared. And so what he did, and I don't know what he did, it's just he told me at that time, I don't know if he continued getting benefit or not, but he just mentioned it. We were talking one day. And so what you do is you sit on a chair towards the front and then legs spread, and you have that light approximately 11 inches, foot, away, and do it for 20 minutes every day. You can do it twice a day, even better results. And the far infrared significantly shrunk the prostate for this man. I mean, that's significant to shrink it that much in just 2 weeks. Contrast bath, that's where you're having both 2 buckets of water, hot, cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. When could you do a contrast on extremities? Let's say feet. Let's say they sprain their ankle and you're over the 24, 48 hours. Then you can do contrast. Increasing circulation, and it works. You can do contrast on your hands, on your back, as we did contrast here. So that's what contrast is. Hot foot bath. Neti pot. Who's ever done a neti pot? Isn't that cool? Yeah. Kellogg, did I mention about Kellogg using doing nasal irrigation? He used enema bag. Just want to make sure you clean that tip off good before you use it.
I use nasally now. It's a whole lot easier.
Okay.
I learned that from a trip to Africa.
Okay. Now Kellogg said even at time of Kellogg they were using piston syringes. They didn't have the bulb syringes back then, I don't think. But they did use piston syringes. He said don't use piston syringes because it can damage the eustachian tubes. Nasal irrigation is good. Now CDC did come out a couple years ago and they said if you're doing nasal irrigation is something that's done in healthcare. There were some people dying down in Texas from nasal irrigation. And they found there's this pathogen that was in the water down in Texas that chlorine didn't kill it, only boiling would kill it. So CDC issued a warning for all nasal irrigation fluids, no matter what the source was, to boil it first to kill any potential pathogen because these people were dying. They were doing the neti pot and it actually went up to the brain and it caused them to die. So if you do neti pot, it's best to boil the water first according to that. Now I don't know how widespread it is, but that was the recommendation. But neti pots are really good to clean those sinuses out. You can. Salt's what folks mostly do. They'll do normal saline. Now, how do you make normal saline? Can you make normal saline? Sure. A pint of water and a teaspoon of salt, normal saline. And so you make your own distilled water, a teaspoon of salt, and you now have normal saline. And so you can do that. Dr. Jackson, for nasal polyps we talked about yesterday, he'll use blackstrap molasses, put a teaspoon of blackstrap molasses in there and stir it up real good, and then use that, and that will get rid of nasal polyps. I've used golden seal tea before and done a neti pot for sinus infections, and that's also done well. Strain it good.
Any difference between
There is. I'd use sea salt. I wouldn't have. Table salt, the only thing I found good for table salt, it's a cheap way of doing a cold mitten friction. Yeah. Okay, let's do another one here. I learned this one from Dr. Agatha. It's really good. She said you also need a box of Kleenex. So let's say you have sinus congestion and you can't get rid of that sinus congestion. She says what you do is you get a snorkel. Y'all know what snorkels are. And she says you have a pail of hot water and a pail of cold water. Now the face can tolerate cold water better than it can hot water. So whatever the patient's face can tolerate. And then you can go ice cold, and the patient can tolerate ice cold better than they can really hot. And so what they do is they put the snorkel in the mouth down before it goes into the ears. For how long?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah. And then they come over here and they go into the cold water. How long?
30 seconds.
Or 30 or a minute. You do a minute. Now, you don't have to have the snorkel, but you're constantly doing this. So it's better constant. So it's good to have a little snorkel. You can buy a snorkel in the summertime at the dollar store for cheap. How many times do you do it? Dr. Thrash said do it until your sinuses are just pouring. And they will. That's why you have this box of Kleenex. And I mean, it may take 20 minutes, but it just finally just cuts loose, and I mean, it pours out. It works very, very well. It's a contrast hydrotherapy treatment for sinus problems. Now, Mary Lou, I was just starting to learn this stuff, and it was Dr. Thrash and Neil Nedley who I was reading when I started learning it. How did I get first convicted? What was the book I read? Ministry of Healing, yes. But then I need to learn how to do it. And so I started reading Thrash. I started reading Proof Positive. I came home one day. Mary Lou said I knew she didn't sleep the night before and went to work, came back, and again, I worked long hours back then in regular health care, and came back, went to bed, and next morning she says, I didn't sleep at all again. And I thought, got home. So it was the evening of the second night, and she says, I said, did you sleep today? She says, I can't sleep. She just felt terrible, awful. And so I'd read in Thrash's book to use actually I read it flying somewhere. I was flying to, it was to, what's Sin City out in California? No, San Francisco. Yeah, I had a meeting in just outside of San Francisco, and I read this on the plane out on the way to San Francisco. And interesting, your brain can remember stuff. And so I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I took a 100-watt light bulb, and that's the problem today. You can't get 100-watt light bulbs. It's all, fluorescent LED. But you take a 100-watt light bulb, and then you take the caps of gallon milk jugs. And so you have the patient lay down, put the gallon milk jug caps on the eyes to protect the eyes, and then don't do it yourself. I had a therapist one time, and I told her how to do this. I said, don't, have your mama do it, have your daddy do it, but don't do it yourself. And she thought she knew everything. Come back the next day, and she looked like Rudolph. She burned her nose. Don't do it yourself. And so what you do is you hold that light bulb 2 inches off the bridge of the nose. 2 inches off the bridge of the nose for 20 minutes. Before 20 minutes happened, Mary Lou was asleep. And she slept all night long. It dried it up. And Kellogg found that incandescent light goes deeper than hydrotherapy. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And so if you have a person with a lot of sinus issues You can try the snorkel thing, and again, the incandescent. See if you can find you some 100-watt light bulbs. And what you do is you can take like a shop light that we use to work on cars, just screw it in there, and it works very, very well.
How many inches?
2 inches. 2 inches. Have a steady hand. Yeah, off the bridge of the nose, right there. But be sure and put those caps over the eyes so you don't damage the eyes. For 20 minutes. Yes. Okay, who's ever done an enema? Yeah. Do they work? They can be very beneficial. They sure can. I'm not a big enema person every day. Y'all know who Charlotte Gershon is? Yes. Dr. Gershon was a big proponent of coffee enemas every day. Is a coffee enema beneficial? Absolutely it is. If you have a patient with cancer and morphine's the only thing that's giving them pain control, and they're loopy because of morphine, you can do a coffee enema. It will do a liver cleanse, and it actually helps with pain. And I've got a good buddy. He's an anesthesiologist, and he flew out to Tijuana to learn what to do for his grandmother that was dying with cancer, with extreme pain. And he learned how to use the coffee enema. Went back, they did the coffee enema, and then grandmother was able to discontinue the morphine, and her pain control was with the coffee enema. Now that's a good thing. She had a short period of time. It was, do we like coffee? No, we're not big coffee people, but it was sure a whole lot better than the morphine, and quality of life with the parents, with the kids was a whole lot better. In the early 1900s, in the teens, the 20s, enemas were really big in the United States amongst rich people. And my great-grandfather would tell me about his wife. She later on died of leukemia. But she and he went to medical school, to nursing school at Florida Hospital in the old sanitarium. And they were actually the first graduating class in, I think, 12 or 13. Granddad went on to Battle Creek, as I mentioned yesterday. Grandma went back to Chattanooga. And she would do enemas for these highfalutin women on 9th Street every day. She had to keep doing it every day. Granddad said, because if you do enemas all the time, the body peristalsis doesn't work on its own. And so now, that was a job for her. Not a very clean job, but that's what her job was. Then Granddad came back, and he went on back to school and got his veterinarian. But enemas are great tools for short-term needs. We use it for cancer. You can take, you're drinking your Podiarco tea, you're drinking your Mullen tea, you're drinking your whatever teas. You can also do a quart enema of the same tea, and your colon will absorb those herbs also, and it will go into the body, and you're getting even more herbs to fight the cancer. We're dealing with cancer, y'all, and so we're throwing everything at it, and so they are good for that kind of thing. One of the challenges with enemas, fluid going in is not how peristalsis is used to. It's used to things going the other way. So sometimes it gets upset and you evacuate. Well, you want a retention enema is what you're after, is a retention enema. And so some things that can help you on doing enemas is, one, don't do an enema sitting on the toilet. A plumber will tell you things go downhill. That's just how it works. This person's laying flat. I actually like to have the person on the floor or in the bathtub or whatever, but have the buttocks up off the ground with pillows or whatever, and then the legs can be up on the wall, and you've got a downward motion. And then let's say you're wanting then to irrigate over here, then you can roll for a high enema, so you're getting, and then you can go this way, and it can drain go this way. It just helps the process. It's been found that at the first enema, the body's trying to get used to it. Subsequent enema, the second enema, is starting to allow the action to take place better of going in. Now, who's had an enema? Okay. Now, this is kind of interesting. You've got your little clicker, right? Your little thing you push in to stop it. Okay. When the eyes start to go, turn it off. Let the person calm down. Turn it back on. I mean, literally, your eyes go kind of, oh, turn it off. And you can get a retention enema a lot better when you do it that way. It's just a little simple trick that works. It's hard to get enema bags anymore. Used to, you could get them at the drugstore, at the, the Walmart kind of things. Those guys don't sell them anymore. Yeah, I'd say Gerson does. You can buy them online. Why don't we do enemas anymore?
Because we have Dulcolax and all those other things, and the magnesium citrate.
Yeah, it's just a dirty job, and people don't want to get their hands dirty. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, right, exactly, exactly.
There was a health group about 20 years ago that was going through all of our churches back home, preaching enemas to get rid of all the snakes and the worms and lizards that were inside of us.
I mean, you didn't get the spoonful of castor oil.
That'll work.
Is it really that bad?
One of the problems is they were using you remember the big old long things that they were getting? Well, what was happening is who's looked at a colonoscopy?
I woke up in the middle of mine, saw a picture, it was very...
Oh, you woke up during the colonoscopy? That wasn't supposed to happen. And you remembered it?
Oh, yeah, it was... I remember saying, oh, those are pretty colors, and it was green.
Yeah, and see, they give you a drug that is a, what's it called when you don't remember? It's an amnesia. It causes amnesia, so you don't remember. So that GI could say, okay, tell me all your numbers, tell me all the bad stuff you've done, and you won't remember it. So you should not have remembered that. Yeah.
I was awake during the entire...
Were you?
Yeah, I watched it on...
That's not you normal. That just doesn't normally happen. Yeah. So, but if you've ever looked at the shots of a colonoscopy, you don't see all that stuff in there. Now, yes, they cleaned it out the night before, and if you don't want to drink the Go Lightly, or if you don't want to drink the magnesium stuff, what you can do, and I have people come to me, and the GIs have no idea that they did this. They just don't want this pharmaceutical stuff. What you can do is the night before is you take a half a gallon of warm water, body temperature, 5 teaspoons of sea salt, and the juice of 2 lemons, and drink it all within 30 minutes. 15 minutes each quart. And stay around the bathroom for about 2.5 hours.
You said a half a gallon of warm water?
Half a gallon of warm water. And you got to drink it all. Okay, who has ever flushed 5 teaspoons sea salt? Who's ever flushed a toilet with a bucket of water? Yeah. What if you use a spoon? Is that going to do it? It's not enough volume. So timing and volume is important. So the same thing in flushing the colon. The warm water stimulates peristalsis. The salt water also helps with the process. The volume of water within a certain amount of time helps with flushing it like flushing the toilet. The 2 lemons, that's just to make it taste better. Some people will use like a vegetarian, what's those little cubes y'all use in cooking? Bouillon. And put a vegetable broth bouillon kind of thing in there. Yeah.
A gallon of water?
No, sir, half gallon. Half gallon.
And drinking in one hour?
No, 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So you're drinking a quart each 15 minents. Don't do what, I had one boy one time. He drank it, and he's going to show me how much a man he was. He threw it up. He just went and threw up. So drink about a quart every 15 minutes. Yes?
Why does in the lemon cleanse book it tell you to lay on the side for so long and then flip over and lay on the other side for so long? You're not saying to lay on your side, but the lemon cleanse book has you lay on the side for 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
What's the point in that?
They're after a colon cleanse. You're laying on your right side on a heating pad.
I don't know. It just says lay on your right side until you feel like you got to go. So.
Oh, okay. They could be just stirring things up.
Okay. All right.
But if you're doing a gallbladder liver cleanse, if they have a gallbladder, you have them lay on your right side for 1 hour on a heating pad, and that helps with the gallbladder liver
But
cleanse.
just to flush out, you don't need to do any laying on any sides?
It probably helps move back and forth. I just have people get up and walk around and move.
Okay.
Yeah, but be around the bathroom for 2.5 hours. And if you only got one bathroom, only one of you do it at a time. Yes. Pardon? Turn on the left side? Yeah, they always taught us if you wanted to, and if you wanted it to move this way across the transverse, is to lay on the right side, and it helped the enema go this direction. I don't know. Good question. That's a good question. Okay, we're running out of time, y'all. Wow, last slide. Any questions on hydrotherapy? There's so much more to share, y'all. But you can only take so much, I guess. Yes, saturation. That's right. I'm getting ready to do a hydrotherapy series for Amazing Discoveries, and where I'll cover each modality for about 15 minutes. And that should, we'll see how quick that comes out and is available. We're doing about 12 modalities. And so from these various ones, and we'll shoot on how to do those. Yes?
Maybe this is whatever. I'm just kind of curious how you get into Canada doing that. Or do you
I don't
down
now.
here
I have to record here now.
and just transfer it up?
I just send it digitally.
I see.
I send it through a Dropbox, and then they get it, and I let them do all the editing. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm having to do now because I'm not going there. Yeah, I won't go. And Barbara's the same way. Barbara O'Neill, she's not going either, and so she's shooting here and sending it up.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of COVID?
Pardon?
Because of COVID?
Because I won't take the vaccine. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to see some of the videos, you can go to. I've got a YouTube channel, and the easiest way to do it is just go to our website, which is the mustard seed, themustardseed.us. And on the front page at the bottom, just click on, go to YouTube. And the YouTube channel is Lifestyle to Health.
You said
.us. You can go to Lifestyle to Health, YouTube, whatever, Lifestyle to Health, and you can find it there. You see a picture of me, and you can go there. And so we've got a number of different videos up that you can watch. I brought some videos back here if y'all want some. There's one set, it's Old Mountain Remedies. The other one is the herb cabinet. And the other one is a camp meeting one I did. Look through them. The herb cabinet one is, I don't know, I forgot how many hours it is. It's quite a few hours. It's 9 videos, DVDs. And then Old Mountain Remedies is 6 DVDs. And then the one for camp meeting was that talked about various things was just 4 DVDs. And then I brought some essential oils you can look at if you're interested. And if you're interested in buying anything, you can just talk to Walter. Sometimes you catch me if y'all ordered. And that that's his responsibility, shipping stuff out and keeping track of my schedule.
How do we do that part? Is that through the mustard seed also?
Just call. I've got some more cards over there. You can call the store and just call. And we used to have a store online. Someone hacked it and took it down. So we've got over 3,000 items that we sell, and so people just call and say, I need this, and we ship it to them.
And you sell the oils?
We sell the oils. Yeah, there's days that Walter sells far more than what we sell in the store. Just people calling and ordering.
Premium quality oil, the one that you would
The 100%, 100%. That's what you sell.
Yeah.
pure.
100 pure.
Yeah.
So we have,
100%.
That's right.
so with our inferior oils, you recommend they only diffuse, not to use for treatment. Is that it?
I believe in due diligence. I had this lady come from New York Times to talk to me. Spent 3 hours talking to me about what I thought about COVID. And I told her basically two things. Do your due diligence, do your research, and pray and ask God what you need to do. That would went right over her head, plumb over her head. And then I had if I told you what station it was, some German TV station, whatever your number one TV station is for the whole country of Germany, they came and spent, I don't know how long with me. And I've got Stutz was over in Germany seeing his parents, and he goes, Walt, you're on German TV. And again, I told them, listen to God. What's God say? And they looked at me just like, and I said, do y'all go to church? None of them. They said, no, we don't go to church. And they said, when they built the newer cities, I said, y'all got pretty churches over there. And he said, well, when they built the newer cities, they didn't put churches in them. Really? That's why they look so weird when I talked about God. Yeah. That's interesting. So maybe it was and do you know what? They put that on German TV when I said that. So that's good. Okay. Yes.
Is there anything that can be done for pulmonary hypertension?
Pulmonary hypertension. So that's lungs, pulmonary hypertension. I would look at lung function. Is there issues cardiac-wise? Is there lung issues going on?
Her doctor said it was the pulmonary artery.
Uh-huh.
And told her she has 6 months to live. She's on 7 liters of oxygen.
And the pulmonary artery is occluded?
She just said that's the problem. She didn't know.
Okay. See, the cure is in the cause. So if there's occlusion there, if there's atherosclerosis, then I would recommend the Douche diet. I would highly or juicing, one of those two. And then just for good lung health, because there's issues there, just to strengthen the lung function is mullein. And I would look at using the lecithin granules, but I don't know if the issue is atherosclerosis or not. But if it is, I would use definitely that. Yes.
Is there a general amount of time you recommend the juice diet?
The juice diet I recommend for around 60 days. University of Alabama at Birmingham for cardiac patients, they're recommending 70 days.
Okay.
And so, that's UAB. They are probably one of our best in cardiology in the South. Wow. And they said it's totally safe. And that's a patient who's in significant heart failure. Okay. So juicing's, is, unless there's some outlier, nothing's 100%. So you got to make sure there's nothing outlying that would cause a problem. But monitor the person. Let's say you get a person who's real skinny, and they're worried about losing weight. Well, when we do cancer, I use Dr. M's protocol. You knew Dr. M. He was in Florida, and then AMA in Florida ran him out, and he went to Washington State. And M would do 8 ounces 12 times a day, exactly like Gershon does. And so that's what we did for our cancer patients. And so our dietitian figured up, on average, what we were doing with 8 ounces times 12, that's 96 ounces, a day, and she said it was over 2,000 calories. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's enough? Mm-hmm. That's enough. Yeah. And so she felt it was fine. And so people say, oh, you're going to shrink down to nothing if you do juicing. Well, maybe you just need to drink more juice. So you could do 16 ounces every 2 hours, during the day, or you can do it, for 6 times. But chew it first. That's right. And another thing, we would warm up our juice to body temperature. Why do we do that? It takes energy. That's right, less energy. So drink it warm, body temperature, and you're not expelling, for that cardiac patient, for that cancer patient that you're wanting the energy to go to healing, you're not taking as much energy. Yeah. Any other questions?
What about for just those of us who are pretty healthy and we want to do a good juice cleanse?
Yeah.
A week or how long?
You can do 7 days, 21 days. There's a lot of 21 days that people do. The complaint I get with juicing consistently is, let's say we do a 21-day juice fast.
And how many times a day?
16 ounces 3 times a day.
Okay.
Joe Cross does 3 to 4 times a day. But the consistent response I get after a person does a 21-day juice is when they go back to eating whole food, they don't feel as good. I said, I feel better juicing. Can I juice the rest of my life? No. Your body needs fiber. Yeah. But what I encourage them to do is to, intermittently juice. Yes.
Wait. Your voice is so low.
Sorry. You really have to start slowly to eat normal again because
Don't
your
start with cooked.
intestines need to get used to it again.
She's
It's
exactly
hard
right.
work.
Thank you for reminding me that.
And the enzymes, they need to be produced by the body again and so on.
So after juicing like that, eat raw, but don't start eating a bunch of just normal food. Your body's not ready for it. Yeah. Okay, the question is, what's the difference in smoothie and juice? Smoothies are good, but you have the fiber in there. And so it's still going to take a lot of energy to digest it down versus the juice. Yeah.
How can in eating a good diet and healthy diet,
Here, Melanie, there's the microphone.
how can if you want to gain weight?
If you want to gain weight.
In a healthy
Okay. And I'd say she has a lot of recommendations. A good friend of mine, a physician, what he does for that is he has his patients eat an avocado or 2 a day, and he will have them eat a half a can to a can of olives a day, but wash them thoroughly. So he has them eat, say, a third of a can for breakfast, a third of a can for dinner, a third of a can for supper, and avocados. What do you think? Yes, nuts, nut butters. What's that?
Because the nut butter is better because when you eat the nuts, the stomach still has to digest a lot. So nut butter is already grind, and it's easier for the body to reach to the fat.
Excellent. I hadn't thought of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And you can make like energy balls. It's with nuts and dried fruits, and you can add them to every meal.
Yes, good idea. If you want to lose weight, okay, for weight loss, yeah. So that's a good thing, yeah. So, well, you can, just don't eat as much. So this is cool. Okay, so I take the kids in the school system and I have them line up based on their height. Well, so the tallest to the shortest. And I say, if you're the same height, put Johnny and Sam are the same height. But if Tommy is lower than Sam, I'll say Tommy, comma, Sam. Well, that's the way it is on our ingredients. Now, I encourage you to go home. Hopefully it's not at home, but I encourage you to go home and see if you have Jif peanut butter. And what does it say on Jif peanut butter? It says peanuts and sugar. So what does that mean? You could call it sugar butter and it'd be the same thing. Yeah. So when you choose your food on losing weight, one, don't eat supper. That's huge. Huge for managing weight. Because eating supper, that just makes you gain weight. It really does. But the other is look at the ingredients. Look at the ingredients. And peanut butter, that's a good way to gain weight. That's another one if you want to gain some weight. But do it with healthy peanut butter. That has just 100% peanut butter, period, or comma, less than 1% sea salt. A good healthy one. And if you don't like that oil stuff that's on natural peanut butter, then what you do is you just turn it upside down. And then the oil kind of goes up through, and it's a whole lot easier to manage that way. No, you want that oil in there. Yeah, you want that oil in. Yeah. Yeah, almond butter is good stuff. It really is. What's the other thing for gaining weight? Sunflower seeds. Sunflower. If you want to lose weight, don't eat sunflower seeds. It's good on putting on weight. It really is. Yes.
I remember when I was in the academy, I was working out for gymnastics, and I was eating quite a bit of sunflower seeds. I gained a pound a week for 9 weeks, and it really muscled up my body.
Yeah. So you just want to, those kind of questions. Snatch this lady back here. She can help you with those kind of questions. That's her expertise. Any other questions? I have to leave in 45 minutes. Yes.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about rebounders?
Oh, yeah. Boy. Whew. Rebounders are really good. They're great tools. I like rebounding, but you want the right kind of rebounder. You want a rebounder that doesn't have springs that look like this, straight. You want springs that taper down like this, because that downward, that upward causes a lot more jar on the organs and on the joints. And so you want to be careful there.
Can you give us a brand name?
NEDAC. Talk to Kent. Yes, Kent's got them.
NEEDAK.
Yes, NEDAC is literally, we've been using our NEDAC for years. And I mean, when kids come in, they jump on it. When I have people jumping on it all the time, coming in just to use it or let them try it out. They're tremendous tools. I've got a rebounder on the front porch of the house. And I mean, it snows, it rains, it's been on that porch for over 18 years. And before it was on that porch, it was in Virginia. Isn't that amazing? All subject to, and where I learned that from was when we used to get the rebound air, that guy, he had one outside. And I thought, well, if he can leave his outside, I can leave mine outside. I'm getting fresh air, I'm getting sunshine, Mary goes out. The only difference is that one squeaks more than the rebounder. And it's a whole lot more money. And so the rebounder is a much better tool. Get one with a bar, because though you have good balance, you may have someone that doesn't have good balance. Or there's stuff you can do on it that you can't do on it. You can just do some really interesting stuff by grabbing that bar if you need to grab the bar. Rebounding increases circulation significantly. It increases the white cell count threefold for 1 hour. 5 minutes of bouncing will increase the white cell count threefold, 300% for 1 hour. So folks with cancer, I have them jump on it every waking hour for 5 minutes. It's a great tool. It's good for peristalsis, getting that colon to move. If you just did a gallbladder thing where you drank the salt water and stuff and things didn't bounce on that mini trampoline, it's going to get going. It is. It's also a really good tool. People tell me that they use it before going to bed. Now, don't jump crazy on it, but just a little bouncing on it before going to bed helps people to go to sleep well. There's something called a health bounce, and that's where you're just doing that easy health bounce. Works very, very well. Let's say if a lady has breast cancer, excellent tool to use. It can be somewhat painful, and I'll have them bounce like this, and they tolerate that better than like this. When I'm on the phone with people consulting, I'll bounce on the mini trampoline at the same time. I have to be careful not too fast, so I wonder why I'm panting talking to them. Kent can tell you all kinds of stuff about the mini trampoline, but I like walking. Inspiration said walking is the best exercise. Now, they didn't have many trampolines back then, but I'm a huge, huge believer in the mini trampolines, and they work extremely well.
It's a great way to pump the lymphatic system. It strengthens all your cells.
It turns your lymphatic system on tenfold. Tenfold.
You were saying yesterday or the day before, for people who can't stand.
Okay.
If you just let their like heels rest on
Their feet on it. Their feet sit on it, and you bounce on it. Yeah. Years ago, when I first started firefighting, we rode on the back of the fire truck, on the tailboard. And so let's say that we were running there trying to get on and we didn't have our coat on yet. We'd jump on there and grab on, and the other guy who was on there, he'd come and stand behind us as we were putting our turnouts on in front of him as we're flying down the road to a fire. And you can do the same thing with a mini trampoline. Is you get your person who doesn't, they can bear weight, but they don't have the ability to bounce. You have them stand on there. I'd have my therapist stand behind them and bounce behind them. And it works well. If they don't have the ability to stand, then, as we said, on the wheelchair or on the chair, or you can have them sit on it. Now, are you good at sitting and bouncing?
Well, I can sit and bounce, yeah.
Are you good at that? You'll have to show them that sometime.
You want me to bring one in?
You got one? Yeah. Yeah, do it. I mean, this is really cool, the sitting and bouncing. He's good. And so they can sit on it and then have the therapist bounce, and that also gets the lymph. But it does. It increases lymphatic flow tenfold. That's big. And that's why you start out slow. Remember, I got the people sick, and Cherney said just 5 minutes 3 times a day, then for a week, 10 minutes 3 times a day, and then you can increase. So it's a great tool. All right.
You were going to show some movie last night?
Pardon?
You were going to show some movie?
Oh, yeah. Can we watch that movie real quick? No. Oh, you don't have to. Do you have access to my jump drive?
We don't have sound either.
Oh, then you need sound.
Well,
Can we use a microphone?
I'm sorry?
Can we use a microphone?
We have no speaker output.
Okay. Oh, okay. From your
Computer here.
Okay.
Is it something we can get on your website?
I don't think it's there yet. I need to put it there. I got permission to use it, so I need to put it there. It's by Dr. McCullough. It's by Dr. McCullough. Yes. Wait a minute. Maybe I can do it with my computer. McCullough.
Actually, if I have a set of headphones, I could.
Okay.
Actually. Do we have? Hey, Tom. Tom. Oh, right there they are. Green ones.
Okay. Let's see if you can watch it. Especially if you work in healthcare, you'll really enjoy it. Now, does that one? Now, is that one just stable? That one doesn't bend.
This one is a non-fold.
Yeah. I've never seen one of them. Do you sell more of those?
The last 6-8 years I've been selling these instead of...
They're a lot cheaper.
A little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But if I ship them one at a time, it's about the same price because it's less money for shipping on a folding one.
Yes.
But I get these are somewhat cheaper, but I get them on a pallet. So if I'm only shipping one,
Right.
if I get them on a pallet, it's
Yes. All right. Okay. Any other questions while we're doing this one right here? That's what I'm here for, y'all. Oh, there is something I failed to mention yesterday, and I thought of last night when I was speaking with you. When you're doing diabetes work, when I went to the clinic, and you'll find this very interesting from nutrition, I got to the clinic, and they were only feeding the patients breakfast and the noon meal. So I go into the physician, I said, you got to have breakfast, dinner, supper, mid-morning snack, afternoon snack, and an HS snack, hour sleep snack. And they decided to play with me. Why? It's a standard of practice. This was RDA, what's the Dietitians Association? Okay, the Registered Dietitians, RDA, Registered Dietitians Association, what they recommend. And then they asked me one more question, and I left the room. They said, how many diabetics did you reverse where you come from? 0. What was our success rate? Over 98% of patients from all over the world. I couldn't argue with them. It was working. And too many times we do things because it's in the standard of practice. Because if something happens to someone, if someone dies, you can go on your attorney can put 50 doctors on there, 50 RDs on, registered dietitians on. What would you do? So how can you say this is negligence? It's a liability issue. So I was talking to Dr. Thrash, and I said, Dr. Thrash, why are these guys skipping supper? She says, yes, you can do the Duke program, which Duke does not skip supper. Kempner didn't do that. Breakfast, dinner, supper, like we talked about. But she said if you extend, what's breakfast stand for? Breaking the fast. She said if you extend that fast from breakfast, from supper to breakfast, from dinner to breakfast, it reverses the diabetes faster. Now, how do we deal with those patients that are that 1 point something %? Well, what Thrash taught me is fast them for 5 days. Can you imagine fasting a diabetic for 5 days who's been on insulin? But it worked. You got to monitor them. You got to be with them, and you got to know what's going on, and you can't be pumping them full of insulin. But it worked.
What do you fast them on?
Tea, water or tea.
Water or tea? Herb
Right.
tea.
Herb tea. Water or only water or water and herb tea.
Are they cured at the end of the 5 days?
Well,
Or are they well on their way?